Hello. Uh-oh. I can't hear you. It's okay. I have to fix Steve's border anyway. Do 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 do. Boom. And where's the other piece? There we go. Boom. All right. I cannot hear you yet. Still. Let's see here. For those of you who are here already, welcome. As you could see, I had to take Steve off. He had a bit of an emergency and he had to go for a little bit. He said he's going to try to come back midstream later. If he doesn't, that's fine too. But yeah, we'll bring him back. And yeah, I can't. I still can't hear you. If you want, you could try to just unmute yourself on the webcam thing. See if that works.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, so for whatever reason, your Discord does not like to hear.
Yeah. I'm gonna disconnect off the Discord then.
Works for me.
Since I can still hear you, and I believe everybody else can hear you. I know we've got about, it looks like 3 or 4 people in here. Can everybody hear him okay? Say some stuff. Well, I guess I can hear your mouse clicking. All right. Well, okay. Phoenicia says she can hear you fine. Oh, I can hear myself in your microphone now. And I could hear you echoing as well. When you said Okay, you're good now. I can't hear myself anymore. And I can still hear you clicking. All right. Think we're good, right? Oh, I guess I should do my thing. Go start morning prayers as we start the stream here. And rite of spirit, of course. Oh, okay. Okay. Good point. Good point. Good point. Okay. Okay. I think we figured out this thing now, right? We're good?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I have to keep you muted or else it comes through my main speakers. And if it comes through my main speakers, it's going to echo.
Right. Okay, we're good now. It's fine. Yes, technical difficulties, Phoenicia, for sure. So yeah, a couple things before we get into the first thing we want to talk about here. For people that might be coming in still, Steve Sryan had to go last minute. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess he had some kind of emergency. It sounded like. Hope he's okay. If he wants to come back midstream, we can easily do that. And because of that, there was one of our particular 8 topics was like a guild versus guild discussion of Templar versus Carnifex, and I think he would probably want to be on for that. So we'll push that towards near the end now or whenever he comes on. Also, a bit of technical news for the stream, and kind of going back to the podcast days, was that used to have people who. Oh, Steve just joined our Discord chat. I guess he might be back already. While he's getting set up or sending me a link or whatever, I'll continue on here. So back in the podcast days, I used to have people. I don't know if they were trolling me or serious or what, but they didn't like my microphone, the way my microphone sounded. So I just ordered. Like a cardioid condenser microphone that'll be here Wednesday. So I should sound better in the future. Making progress. I know that's kind of nerdy, but should sound better in the future. And also, next week we'll have. I think we're gonna try to have someone else on, a Layla, I believe. If they decide they want to, it'll probably be the first time we have a guest on that's going to be audio only. So I'll have a thing set up for that too by then. But yeah, let's see if Steve wants to get back in here. Okay, Steve, you're audio only, or you want to be audio only? But I cannot hear you in Discord for some reason. Why
Yeah,
can't?
because
Why the hell can I not hear anyone in Discord? That's so weird.
that happened to you last time.
Huh? But you can hear him.
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear him just fine. Eric's is having trouble hearing you again, like last time in Discord.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what we'll do. I'm going to close out Discord, so we won't be able to hear side in for a second. I'm going to close out Discord and reopen it, and then we'll try because I think that worked last time. So I'll be right back. No. Testing.
Let me see if I can pull up.
Can you hear me?
Yep. I have an echo
Okay.
on you now because, I can hear you.
Let me. Can you still hear me?
Yes. And I can hear
Okay.
Steve too.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I don't have anything set up to kind of like visualize the third voice, but that's okay. We'll just live with it. And by the time we do next week's stream, I'll try to figure something out good for that because we'll need it for Alayla when she comes on too. So.
Okay.
But since you're back, did we want to talk about the topics we had listed in order, which would be the Carnifex Templar thing first?
I mean, I don't think there's any particular order we have to go in, but I mean, I'm down with I don't know, discussing some of the new kind of like hotter topics as like the new artifact auction stuff.
Okay, yeah, we could
The
start with auction if you
artifact
guys want to.
auction.
Does that sound
So
good to
those
you?
wings, huh? Those wings.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about artifact
Okay,
auction
so
stuff. Here we go.
6,000 credits.
Well, yeah.
I dipped out at 3,500.
I'll pull up the auction for people on stream. There we go.
Yeah, they are, and I definitely would have pulled. I definitely would have, like I said, my max bid was 3,500, but I got pushed out within like the first hour because someone and I got into a bidding war, and since I dipped out at 3,500, it was like okay. Pretty sure that person is out too at this point. So
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, but to be fair, at least I mean you can at least say this because you can. I think you can link one room to the above the clouds and then one room to deep beneath the death caves. So if you can do that, that's basically that's 4,000 credits there on top of wherever else you want them to go.
Yeah. I don't have a horse in the race. I've never been like drawn to having wings like everyone else, but I'm gonna let you guys talk about it.
I like the utility of having like wings and amulet. You know, originally I just had amulet when I came back because I think I traded in my wings because I didn't really need them that much. But I think that now with the way like pathing is set up and like lessers being a thing, that it's easier for me to have both so I can like go to opposite ends of like a city so that way I'm not like, pulling Iacid through Spine's Reach and getting him killed on the way to the southern tundra or,
Right.
to the like the dry plains or something. So, yeah. So I just recently re-upgraded to having wings and amulet. So, but I think that paying 6,000 credits for custom wings is a little ridiculous. And I think that if I ever did have like custom wings or like I somehow got it, my wings word would just be ridiculous.
The actual word ridiculous.
No, like it would just be ridiculous. It would be like something just
Oh.
something silly.
What would your wingspan be?
Oh, I don't know.
I wouldn't even get wings. Like I would go something like Decian's route and do like a ring or something like that because my cat does not have wings.
Well, no, not like wings, but like if I ever got like the wings artifact that had like a custom wings room, like
Yeah,
my word to activate it would be something ridiculous. But yeah, uh, I don't like the idea of like buying wings of the eagle or something like automatically putting wings in your character or that giving flight apparently gives your character wings like the flight racial or whatever.
that's why I got a ring of flying. Like
Yeah,
Hmm.
it
so
just for some people it might sound dumb dropping 400 credits on that, but I'm like my cat does not have wings, and the wing flappy. No,
yeah, well, I mean, plus that the ring or the ring of flight or whatever has its own unique use in that it lets you traverse to anybody outside.
yep, it does. It has
So,
some
I mean,
extra.
that's a pretty sweet thing right there, and an
Yep.
easy way to get around that stupid that barrier that people have been putting up at lessers.
Oh yeah.
Yes, the barrier.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there's ways around it. Um, you can destabilize it. You can fly over it.
You can leap
yeah.
over it too.
Yeah.
Or you can leap. I had no idea you could do that.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've
Interesting.
only got like 7 hours till the first batch ends. That's exciting. And
Yep.
after all this talk we just had about the custom wings going for 6,000, I'm still blown away that the Beastmaster's whip is the thing that's gonna go for the most. Not gonna lie,
So,
it's
how
pretty
much is that
wild.
going for right now?
7,013.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
To just have your mini pets stampede through?
I guess so. Somebody said they do
Man,
damage or something too, so that's
yeah, I
probably
mean it's
part
supposed
of
They
to
it.
do
do.
like it's probably supposed to do like damage based on how many mini pets you have or
And
how many.
mounts. And
Yeah,
mounts.
yeah. So, I mean, I guess if you're like a collector like that,
Yeah,
great. Imagine actually using your mini pets. Can't relate.
yeah, same. I'm not a big mini pet collector myself, but
I will say the Aline has used hers in a lesser before, and the death site for it is actually absolutely hilarious. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's somewhere on the forums, and I'll see if I can find it. But it is just absolutely hilarious for what it is. Let me see. I'll find it here real fast.
yeah, no problem. But yeah, uh, good on Tier on actually coming through on what he said about putting more stuff in the auction and doing it. I know it was kind of late, but at least it wasn't like today, like I had joked about last week. So gave people a few more days to decide on what they wanted to do with their currencies and stuff, which is cool. Um, I'm
Or actually, what to buy.
I'm still high bidder on one of the gold items. I'm hoping somebody doesn't snipe me at the last minute, but I wouldn't be mad if they do because you know I wouldn't mind having my gold back either. I could buy credits with it, so whatever.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
been super nice to have credits going back for 4,000 gold. I feel like I'm back in 2012.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I remember.
I guess the only go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I remember like the olden days, like 15 years ago, when like we were blown away when they went up to like 3,000 or 4,000 back then. Like we're like,
Oh
why are
yeah,
they so expensive?
right. I want to think that when I first started playing Atolia, credits were like maybe like 2.3k.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
And
but it was
Different
I
time.
definitely felt like it was a lot harder to get gold. Like Bloodlock was like the spot to go because the beetles were 30 gold apiece.
Hmm. I actually, when one of my first characters, I actually ended up doing what I needed to get an enemy to Bloodlock because I was a vampire, just so I could beetle. Like that was the one reason I went through the process of removing enemy status and maybe even joining or getting allied to Bloodlock was just for those fucking beetles.
Yep, everybody loved the beetle back in the day, for sure. Well, do we need to say anything else about auction items? Like, are we? I mean, we said a lot
Yeah,
last
I
week.
mean we have the new ones, which is the
Yeah,
Unity token.
4,000.
Which I think me and Katria were trying to bid on it when it was like 500 credits or whatever, because you're like, oh, this is kind of going for like a reasonable price. Like, we could do something cute if we win it. And then like she logs in the next morning and she's like, holy shit, it's like 4,000
Yep.
credits for an honors line.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those situations where people got into the moment of the heat of the bidding, and yeah, with it now sitting at 4,000, it's like, really? But whoever wins it really wants it, so I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when the last like custom Unity token was put in, but I think it probably had something to do with like a Valentine's Day event or something. Because I remember the last time I remember hearing about anyone that had one, it was a Lolly, because she was asking for advice on like what to use for it for her and Benedicto from me and Erzabet in voice chat once. She was like, help me brainstorm some stuff here with it, and I think she had said, I don't know if it's 100% right, that she had got it from some sort of event or something, or like promo or something for like a love
That would
based
make
event.
sense.
But yeah, I think there is a lot of things here that probably should be buyable all the time. Like the Unity thing is something people would love, and I think it should be buyable all the time.
I can understand why it's not, though, because if you make something common, it's no longer unique. I mean, yes, it's still unique that anyone can set it to whatever they want, but if anyone can set it to whatever they want, it's no longer special.
Right.
Because
That's true.
everyone then has a unique Unity line. So
yeah,
I'm not saying that you couldn't have it all the time. I'm just in playing the
devil's advocate.
devil's advocate, yeah,
Yeah.
and the rationale behind why it might not be.
Gotcha. Phoenicia says merchant's logbook in chat. Yeah, we've had conversations about that, me and
yeah.
Phoenicia. I wish.
Although, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say the last time I saw it available was two Christmases ago, like right after I made this character. It was like one of the things you could get like randomly chosen receive for like the way they were doing stockings or whatever as like a bonus item or something like that. And I never found out who ended up getting it that year. It was like the end of 2019. No idea who got it, but whoever got it, that logbook's pretty good. Like that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Although I think when we were talking about the different items that could be added for the refresh, Tier mentioned something about nothing with infinite value going in, which is why their Venom Rags are gone.
Right.
Why and stuff is because those things have infinite value, basically. So, still though, I really wanted the Merchant's Logbook. Like I was crossing my fingers, and I was getting ready to bid an obscene amount on it if it came up.
Oh yeah. Yep. Very rare opportunity if it was to come up for sure. I just find it hilarious though that when they do it during like stocking season and stuff where just random people get it, how like sometimes the most random person who like even goes on to like not play again always like seems to get the crazy stuff, or doesn't play as much as some of the more hardcore players. And I guess that's good overall because like some of that stuff you probably wouldn't want the hardcore people to have, but I don't know. I just find the whole thing fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, the honestly, I think the strangest item on this list is the drink goblin contract. Like,
yeah.
So what? They just deliver like a drink to you
once an
whenever
hour.
you want it, once an hour.
Let's pull up the
Once an
announcement
hour,
post.
a random drink can be delivered to you. You don't get any choice in it. They just deliver to you a random beverage.
There we go.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the bid currently up at right now?
400.
Interesting.
It's right in there with the ice pocket and the rune of reaching, because they're all kind of not. I mean, rune of reaching could occasionally have interesting PK implications, but ranged is a really hit or miss with stuff, so it's not like super great. But yeah, I mean, it's a mostly basically complete RP item that's very unique, which could be cool to have. And then the ice pocket is just permanent ice pocket enchantment on an item. So it's kind of like a way to perma something, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Any container. Slows
probably.
food decay.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be nice for, having a bunch of chocolates or whatever. Because I think I have like a whole bunch in my inventory right now that I'm not even using because I haven't been bashing or doing anything like that. Just basically just ratting.
Mm-hmm.
Just reading chat.
Oh, but no, even like the mini pet cage that's about to be done. I'm like 800 to 1200 credits for a pet.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's any mini pet. I know that. But or is that the unique one? No, that's not the unique one. That's the unique mini pet maker is going for gold. So that's just any mini pet you want. So sure, it can be any mini pet you want that whether it's been around or not. But still, I'm like, you must really want a mini pet to pay minimum 800 credits for a min. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are super obsessed with mini pets. Like I've seen a ton of them on Spirit side anyway. I've like, and then it's always funny to me when like people are obsessed about doing derby and stuff with them, and I'm just like, I really like. They're always like, come do derby. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I'd rather go do things that are productive. But that's
Well,
just
Yeah.
I
me.
mean, I guess the mini pets, they're I don't know, IRE. I'm not sure if mini pets are IRE wide, but I mean, like definitely in Atolia, it's taking taking a page out of the traditional MMO,
Yeah.
playbook of that people will pay, just a ridiculous, amount of, be it real life currency or in-game currency for cosmetic, stuff that has absolutely no combat value.
Yeah. And people love it too. It's just not for me personally. But
Yep.
I love that
That's for
there's,
someone, certainly
yeah,
not for me.
yeah,
No, I know. For example, like Tina on Shadow Side, like when they came out with one of the new mini pets and gift bags, it was like a butterfly or something like that. She was giving out. She was doing. I don't know how many she went through to get that. I want to say at least 100 gift bags. I really don't know though. Like it was she just yeah.
Jeez, that's intense.
Wow.
She was giving them to people. She was doing the one where if you open the gift bag, it gives a gift bag to everyone in the room. She did lots of those
Oh yeah.
and it was basically like you can keep whatever except unless it's that mini pet cage. Mini pet cages go to Tina.
Hmm.
So,
Well.
But
but that's
yeah,
cool. I mean, some people love, like you said, some people just love to collect stuff, and that's cool. Collect what you want to collect. That's the beauty of, the game and stuff is you choose how you want to play and what you want to do.
yep. I didn't see until just now that the emblem of martyrdom went up. It looks like to a bit of every bit of somebody's gold. Essentially, that's what I like to call that. Like when it has weird, like 16 million, 500,000, 800,000, and 53 or whatever. That's
Oh,
usually
yeah.
all of somebody's gold, essentially. Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy.
So is it at 6 million or 6 million or 16 million now?
16 million, yeah, for
Oh,
the
good.
emblem.
Jesus Christ.
And I found out who was outbidding me on it initially too, and I was okay if they got it, so I was like, okay, cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
that they're I don't know if that same person's winning now or if that's somebody that outbid them or what, but that's pretty crazy.
I currently know what the top bid is. I
But
just got told, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's the same person. I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about, and um, so
the Cold War
yeah.
of the Martyrdom emblem. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's probably going to be forgotten about in like a
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
It's going to be
Whoever
like,
won.
oh right, I have that.
whoever wins it probably won't even come to lessers that often. Like, eh, that's okay. But
I mean, I would if I like had the means to suddenly come up with 16 million plus gold. I would buy it just for the fact that I would never go to another lesser again.
that's good times. Oh, you love to
Mm.
see it. I mess around with my, with my what news post I'm reading, and now the app on my phone is like, you have one unread news. Ugh.
Oh, yep, it does the same thing to me when I'm searching news and stuff like that for stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, we haven't really talked a lot about the iron coin stuff. I keep forgetting about that because I have no iron coins basically. But let's see if we can spell iron coins. There we go.
I
I
mean,
think that whatever those iron coin artifacts are, like it's far more difficult to get iron coins than it is to get
Oh yeah,
credits or gold or whatever. So I feel like that whatever I don't know the iron coin artifacts that they have up are super underwhelming. Even like through like the in-game like artifact purchase, like market
yeah,
or whatever, where like the iron coin arties that they have like all the time. I feel like that once people get whatever they're gonna get, they don't really ever touch that again. So like I have the divining skull, I have the vortex crystal. I think I have a couple other little quality of life things, but like I haven't been back to even look at and see what else is on there
yep.
because none of them interest me. So
I got my vermin bait recently. Finally, spent all the rest of my 30 iron coins. Ooh, look at that
I was
vermin bait.
thinking about that because okay, it's been worth it because I mean it's what it doubles the amount of vermin
No, it basically
per ring.
it makes the whole city like sewer rooms for you, where you get 5 instead of 3.
Oh, that would be so. And how much is it? You said it's 30
30,
iron coins.
30, yeah, a whole 30.
Oh, I should buy that
You
because
probably should, as much
I've been
vermin
vermining
as
a
you do.
lot. Yeah,
Got to raise your profit margin there.
it was kind of sad to realize that I made like like almost 1,400 mists per turn in off this last week just vermining alone.
Yeah, you've been.
I go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Like I haven't
Wow.
even
Oh,
been keeping
boy.
a track of what you can buy with iron coin artifacts. I mean, for the auction, I bid on the relic token at first, but then got quickly outbid. But I haven't really had anything I wanted to buy. I thought about the eggnog,
Right.
um, just because of the buffs, but just like most
Yeah,
of the items.
I was just gonna say I still can't believe somebody even had 842 iron coins. Like I don't even know how that happens. Like unless you're literally one of those
Yeah,
people
because
that
I
just
mean,
buys
because I
them from
think
everyone. I guess.
You could
I don't know.
probably. I would assume it's um. Oh, if it is Corvo, yeah, he's been being icy for ages, and also, I mean, if you've had your elite membership for who knows how long, a
Yeah.
year, 2 year, 3 years, and you've never really spent your iron coins, it wouldn't be that hard to get a lot either.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think we said last time you. So I think you get like what 20 a month on membership. So that's 240 a year. So that'd be like what,
Yeah,
like
I
three
think I
and a
bought
half
the
years,
yearly
something like that.
membership, and I got like the whole bulk iron coins of like 240. I think that sounds right.
Yep. Phoenicia's like, hey, Tolians are weird spenders. You ain't kidding.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's being one of them that is a weird spender. Like, I don't know. We're all weird spenders, but hey, we do what we like, you know? It is what it is. There's worse things in life we could have spent our money on, that's for sure. I think. But yeah, I didn't get to say it on the stream here, but thanks for the follow, Misery Cord, who said they are salts. So welcome, salts.
Hello.
How do you move the eggnog for buffs from the shot glass to a vial? I have no idea. I've never tried to move the liquid from the eggnog, even when I had it on my old character.
It might be Phil, blank from shot glass or whatever. But definitely don't do empty blink into whatever because it'll just say empty glass. So and
Yeah,
then you
Right.
just have an empty thing.
Pour thing into thing is typically how it
Right.
goes.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't know.
Sons.
Syntaxes are weird. It's like, half the time they work for one thing and then half the time they don't work for another thing.
Yep. So, before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to show everyone something. I've only told one other person about this, and I kind of wanted to say it on stream so that I could share the information. And you guys are welcome to do whatever you want with this information. But the other night, I learned toxicology. I switched from herbalism to toxicology the other night, right? And I put an idea in to have the. Remember, I think we talked about this last time. To have the den of shadow snakes have venom sacs, and then
Mm-hmm.
they actually did it. So you
Oh,
can
nice.
yeah. So I've been farming that the last few days to try and get my venom sacs up amongst the other places.
Is
But
it worth it to go bash there because those mobs are uncrittable as far as
no.
I'm aware?
The snakes are above in the area above there.
Oh, okay,
You
all right,
push the
gotcha.
statue, you go in, and then there's that like diamond area that has just the snakes.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, those now produce venom sacs. Um, yeah, and they're not that hard. They're just annoying because they strip the fences. That's about all they do, and they do some damage. And they put
Hmm.
Voyeuria on you too, but that's not a big deal. But yeah, I just
So
thought
is the
everybody should know
difficulty
that.
more? Is it more than going to the snake pit?
Yeah, the what I well, I'd say it's obviously in between difficulty of because I don't know how many people know this too, but you can go to Luzeth's lair and you can kill the spiders for venom sacs too, which is
But not all of
probably
them.
right. But like I would say it's obviously in difficulty between that and snake pit. So
I mean, you can also like grab venom sacs, I think, from the snakes in an orient, or maybe I'm thinking of snake oil.
well, yeah, that
Um,
I wondered about that too. But the way it works is like the snakes in the sewers in Orion only work for apothecary. They don't work for toxicology.
Centipedes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, centipedes. My path is usually I do the den of shadow snakes, then I do Luzeths, and then that way I get the hardest stuff out of the way, and then I go to snake pit, and then centipede caves, and then festering wastes, and then that's it. And it
Yep.
usually nets me like if all of them are full, I'll get like 260 sacks. So ish.
Hmm.
Just depends on
I
everything is
guess
fully spawned.
I've never really liked any of the crafting or like profession, or mercantile stuff in Atolia because it's just basically the same thing, no matter what MMO, or mud that you go to, is that it's just a grind fest to try and get, as many of these, base resources, so you can, sell your wares or whatever, which is, primarily why I hate doing like any of those professions in World of Warcraft, because you gotta like spend hours, mining or disenchanting or gathering materials, just so you can, turn around and flip stuff on the auction house. And it's just like, it's
Right.
just a slog. It's not something I enjoy, which like, I get that some people enjoy that. You know, they enjoy the grind, but that's definitely not me.
Yeah, it can feel like a job sometimes, but some people like that feeling at first. But like even the most hardcore of like, I love the grind, they always end up being like, man, this is boring. It's like a job. It's happened to me too. I mean, but I've enjoyed
Well, I
trying to
mean,
get venom sacks the past week.
it must be nice to look back and be like, wow, I have 11 million gold,
Right.
you know?
Oh,
So, I mean, bet that
listen.
definitely softens the blow a little bit.
Yes, I had 15 by the way, and I still have
So,
like
what
three and a quarter or something like that. Uh, I'm not gonna say who, but I basically with this auction, I ended up like I went into the auction saving all that gold because I was like, okay, like I said before on here, like I want a unique, cool thing. And that's from the auction, and in the end, I will have gotten a thing you could buy normally with credits for gold in the level 3 weapon room. That's what I'm bidding on, and then I like gave all my gold to someone else to bid on something else, and they gave me credits for it. So basically, that's what my auction ended up being after
Hmm.
like a year and a half of saving up gold. Not what I expected, but also not the worst either. So
Well, there you go.
yeah,
I have one
Well,
item
there
I'm
you
bidding
go.
on right now, and that's all I'm considering really. I mean, I'm debating on the Goblin contract here and there, but it just really comes down to whether how much I spend on one item I'm looking at or not. If it stays where it's at, I might look at the contract. If it goes higher, then I probably won't. So.
Oh yeah, but I think it's interesting too that we've been all about like, oh, the end of the month, this auction stuff's going to be over, and now we have like another week and a half. But I'm interested to see what next month's promo is going to be. Not that I think I'll have the money for it, but
Well, that's to come out like what, today at the Howling,
yeah,
Yep.
or are we gonna wait another 2 weeks for it?
nah, there tiers usually on top of promos usually, not always, but usually.
Boxes and crowbars. Oh goodness.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I actually have a crowbar still. Like I had an odd crowbar from the last time they did it. I still have one in my inventory. I would love just randomly one box to open it, use it on, but okay. I think I killed all the snakes, guys. Nope. I was wrong. Okay, there's one last one.
Well, I think this would be a good way to transition into the other hot topic.
Sure. Which one would you like to pick from? I have all 8 of them in a notepad here. Do you need me to read them back to you?
I personally, no. I have one
Okay.
in particular in mind.
Okay.
I, for one, would love to discuss that now the Milky Moon has risen
What?
and Minotaurs
Oh, okay.
are allowed in Atolia.
The Milky
Oh,
Moon.
let's talk about Daddy Moo Cow.
Oh,
He's
jeez.
got something special for your Frosted Flakes.
Those thick ass Milky Boys.
Oh, God. Like I said on the forums, they are the most metal of races. Oh, good times. Yeah, let's talk about
Minotaurs, yeah,
Minotaurs. Here we go.
they're
Yeah, go ahead. Start. I'm excited.
yeah, they're personally, I don't understand the I don't know fetishization, for lack of a better term, or like obsession with Minotaurs. I mean, it's definitely for somebody. It's not really for me. I don't imagine playing anything else other than it to solo.
Well, I am a human Dwamvi Yeleni werebear, so. But
I am a cat.
you're just a cat.
Meow.
You're nothing else, just a cat.
I mean Idrith, but other than that,
Okay.
I didn't even change my description. Like his description changed, he stayed the exact same. He is Rajamala,
Okay.
and he will remain Rajamala unless something horrible happens to him.
Rajamalans are a prideful few.
Yes. Hear us meow.
I'm sad we don't get more variety in like what people play as and stuff. But I mean we do, but like there's some that you rarely see like imps and Arkeshi and stuff like that. But at least
I mean, it sucks,
on
but
our
I
side.
feel like that stat packs really changed the way that things are, because now people only pick races like for the cosmetic, really.
Yeah.
That back in the day, like pre-stat packs, which I feel like that there's some like newer players who probably don't remember those dark days where you basically were locked into a race based
Yeah.
because the stats were like you couldn't be, I don't know, like you, if you wanted to be like a mage, mun or something, like
Yeah.
you would not be effective at all in PvP
Yep.
or bashing. So like
I
the races to go were like growth and Kelki and stuff like that.
when I had my vampire, like 13, 15 years ago or whatever it was now, I started him as a dwarf actually, which was pretty funny. I had a dwarf. He was a dwarf. And then as I started like I got vampire class and started bashing, I'm like, "Man, I really need extra regions, so I'm going to use my free reincarnate." And I just reincarnated into a troll because it was better for bashing at the time. Like
No, I will say imps are actually, as Tet pointed out, that imps are actually really common in Shadow. Like we actually have an entire clan, and there's actually a treaty with the High Empire.
oh, I see.
because imps are actually pretty dang common in Spine's Reach and Bloodlock.
Okay.
So I would say with with Minotaur, I think there's going to be quite a few people who are going to enjoy it because it just gives them a different aesthetic because everyone has their different aesthetic. And for some people, that aesthetic is big, brawny, take me by the horns types, and that's what they like.
Nice.
So if that's what they
Okay.
want to do.
So what
But
you're
no.
saying is there needs to be a clan called the Milkmen. That's what we're doing.
Oh, gee, Christ.
You say
No.
that, and I'm quite sure
Yikes.
one is going to pop up.
I hope so. I hope we get the Milkmen, and they are a fine few.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to start, adding chastity belts to forging because of this.
Oh no. Yeah, Minotaurs are great. Like, I love when anything's added to the game, even if it's something like that that's not, it's very flavorful to have Minotaurs.
I
I
will say
mean,
the
I can
lead
agree
up.
with that.
Yeah, I will say the lead up to their release though has been great because there's been a ton of RP with the Carnifex and stuff like that, and training the Minotaurs and how they responded first when this detachment was sent to the Carnifex and all of that. Like, it wasn't just I appreciated that they did RP around the Jirani and they gave each of the cities something unique, and that was the release. I can also appreciate that they put a lot of background into kind of cementing a relationship between the Minotaurs, between Styrian and the rest of Sapience before they pushed out the race as playable.
Oh yeah. I didn't know what the event was about, being someone that wasn't in the Carnifex, and I just heard somebody shouting the other night. I was like, "Where's that at?" And somebody mentioned it on City. Oh, I'm about to die, guys. Maybe. Nope. Okay, I'm good. Um, and yeah, I just went over there, and I was very happy that I got to at least just sit there and watch it. Like, that was cool without people like trying to attack me immediately. That was nice. I enjoyed that. It was a cool event for what it
I mean,
was.
I really don't mind when they are adding new races. I think that the only thing that does kind of irk me a little bit is when they add these new races that have these cool, racial abilities or whatever, but they don't add them to the list of racial skills that you can buy with like Haven points or whatever.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like I think most of us who have put sunk any particular amount of time into bashing and have all those Haven points or whatever, that we've amassed so many, and we've probably already bought out all of the racial skills that we can potentially buy,
Right.
and like they're not adding any more because I think the reasoning behind that was that it's too difficult to code. That's like to code new stuff in,
Mm.
which like I don't know, seems kind of like a cop out to just say, oh well, it's too hard, so we're not going to do it. Like,
Right.
but you're going to keep introducing all these new races. Like, it personally, like my character Sran has always been like he's been a Tasola for like 2 centuries. I think the only other time he was a different race was when he was Grook, and that was when he first started and he was a Kabbalist. But him suddenly changing from Tasola to something else doesn't really fit within his RP. I mean, even though now we have all these options of you can change your height, you can change how big you are, you can change basically drastically everything about you, because you have so much freedom with Essence or Edrith or all this other shit that yeah, you technically could make that change if you wanted to, because I know that who is it, Axius actually does a lot of changing with their character like all the time,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but unless like that's part of like your RP to like constantly undergo these like drastic changes, and you kind of just do it like whenever you feel like it. I don't know, it doesn't really fit with somebody that's a little bit more static than Saran is.
Right. But yeah, on the topic of the racial skills, Austin says in chat, Tyr has expressed the hatred of racial skill buying. That might be part of it too. So
Then maybe at some point, hopefully, they can give
I
us
mean,
something else to buy.
right, like with the Haven points or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that everybody, who's sitting on, I mean, I don't know, Riot probably has, I don't, God even knows how many Haven points he has right now. But, he shouldn't be able to, just dump all that into all these like racial skills or whatever and, give himself, level 15, regeneration or whatever. But like it shouldn't be like an instant win just because you bash. But it would be nice to see something like kind of kick back to you because I mean I think I just added like 8 rooms to my Haven like 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I'm not super thrilled that having to like redescribe and rename those is not free. Like for the first time, like you actually have to pay for it, even though you spend the Haven points to build the room. So I'm not sure if that's a bug or kind of an oversight or something. But it would be nice that if you're going to build a room, you at least get that first one for free. Uh, but I can't remember where I was going with that. But yeah, but once you like start, have your Haven like already built in terms of like however many rooms it is, there's really nothing for you to spend that, that stuff on other than racial skills. And then once you have all the racial skills, you literally just have nothing to spend that on.
All
So
right.
I would rather use those Haven points for like temporary stat buffs or, whatever, temporary cosmetic items.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the fact that the whole Haven point racial skill point system is super antiquated. We've had it for what, probably 10 to 15 years now, and not a lot's changed about it. So that's probably yet another thing they could add to their list that needs to be updated or changed or whatever. Sorry for the spam. I'm gonna harvest all these sacks now.
No, they definitely didn't. Like, yeah, being able to bash to above 150. I mean, I still remember when even with the way XP was laid out, getting to 105, 110 was nearly impossible. So the ease of which it is now to get to 150 or more is definitely not something that was anticipated.
Yeah, yeah. The whole system was designed for a bazillion years ago, basically, and not really designed for like us getting to super high levels and stuff. So
Yeah, the stacks of how easy it is to stack XP bonuses and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just
yep.
so sometime I know it's a low priority item though, so which could bring us into what was one of the other topics? I thought wrong one.
One of them was bashing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
Uh,
we've got the treaty stuff, class leads, code gates, cult stuff, mirror classes, guild versus guild.
mirrors,
Okay, mirror classes.
because
I
that's what I
wasn't.
was actually going to be leading into.
Yeah, I wasn't too privy on the specifics of what we wanted to talk about mirror classes, so you go right ahead and start us off with that.
So, I mean, mirror classes, kind of, it's going to be interesting what we think is coming out next because it actually to me ties a lot into the cult what's been happening because we've been seeing a lot of stuff that's been suggestive of possibly Spirit Indo,
Right.
and I mean I know we all get excited about thinking of what comes out next and stuff like that. I know some people don't like mirrors, but um, but at the same time, I personally just like having more classes available and being able to play more classes and having more options and um, mirrors with it being a dual system seems to be the fairest way to go about that. So I'm hoping and I'm excited to see what's coming out next for the next mirrors.
Yeah, yeah. That there's a lot of like. Initially, I didn't like the idea of them. It was me and like two other people that got destroyed on the forums for having an opposite opinion of the majority of people. But you know, I I still don't like the idea. Like I don't know. I do and I don't. Like I'm coming around on it myself, but and spirit side endos would be really cool. I don't know if I would get it because like I'm pretty hardcore into like my strength stuff, my strength classes and stuff. But it might be one of those things I get adaptation to be able to do the artifact power. But yeah, like yeah, like I guess it's good that we're like hopefully we get more than just Indo though. Like, or do you guys think we'll just get Indo, or are they going to do like last time where there's like 2 mirrors at once?
No, I think it's going to be at least they're always going to do one class per tether. That's going to be a given.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So yeah, and I'll agree with Ted here that with the night classes, because Revenants they tried, but yeah, you had the Kalsu stuff and things like that. But Spirit Indo, like the reason I'm excited about this and I think they're able to do more is they have to find out, they can't just reuse the same Chaos Lords that the Chaos that Indorani use. So they probably are, in the process of creating like an entirely new Ome based Chaos area. Is I think that's going to be fun because you're
Yeah.
going to have like an entire extension.
I think that's been one of the theories is that the Spirit Indo is going to be somehow linked to Ome's portion of chaos or whatever, and be like
Right.
Fey type Ents or whatever, which like I don't know, doesn't really super sit well with my RP, but I've loved the Indorani class and I would definitely pick it up in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a super fun class, and I'm kind of curious like how they're going to like what are they going to do in place of necromancy, and what are they going to like if they're going to just do a straight copy over of tarot, or if they're going to give them something completely new. What the names and how they're going to look of the different chaos entities. Are they going to be floating globules of paint that turn your enemy technicolor, and at the end of it you just turn them into a Monet and melt them or something? I don't know.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, like I think they could be very interesting if they like keep tarot as tarot, because tarot to me feels like it could be super neutral. Like it's
yeah,
so like I think that would save them a lot of time too, and I don't think anybody would be mad about that. Well, that's not true. Somebody would be mad about that, but I think overall that would be fine to like just have tarot be tarot for both classes.
yeah. The only card I would say they would maybe consider changing is something like the Devil. Like instead of it being the Devil um, card, it would be something else that does the same thing but is not Devil.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, I mean it's cards, so it's they are about as neutral as you can get, because whatever they have assigned to them is just what the people assigned to them. So
Yeah. Do you guys like the awesome content in the background here? 8 million lines of me milking Slyke in the cask. It's good stuff.
The Milky
Premium,
Moon has
yeah.
risen.
And my target is Milkman, so you get to see it nonstop. Shout
milk
out,
it,
shout out to the Milkman.
give it a squeeze.
Oh my God, that'll be all their war cry. And they'll all use war cry styles at Lessers too. It says "Give it a squeeze."
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. So yeah, mirror classes. I guess that's probably the big thing we're looking at next for them to release, right? That and hopefully mining. Like those are the 2 big things we expect them to try and get out there between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, well, and Tier said that after the Revenant and Warden, Raz was going full tilt into mining.
Right.
So that's like the thing he's pretty exclusively working on right now.
Yep. I hope we see the next mirror classes in the mining.
I hope so.
Phoenicia with the negativity, but she's not wrong. Mining, which has been delayed for 2 years. Yeah. Well, hopefully when we do get it, it's worth it's worth the wait for sure. Austin thinks we're just not getting mining at all. I believe we'll get it. I just think it's gonna, it's probably going to come after, because like if I'm them, I would rather put out 2 whole new classes to make people spend more money than to put out one mining skill set. You know, as far as getting people to spend their credits and gold and stuff like that. So if you look at it that way. But at the same time, we really kind of need mining to further balance the commodity stuff. It would be nice.
Although the only commodity I felt that was like really lacking was stone, and that doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they said a long time
Yep.
ago in a forum thread they weren't going to have stone be in mining, even though I think it would make sense. But whatever. I'd still like to have silver and gold bars and stuff be cheaper as an enchanter. So
yeah, no, I would too. Well, even as a apothecary, because it is so expensive that the only way I can use it is if I do the production quest, because the cost is just way too high.
Yep.
To use it commercially.
And as Austin said in chat, steel is also going up lately too.
I mean, I don't know how expensive steel is, for other, cities. I just know that in Enorian, it's only 350 gold per bar. So I mean, I still make a decent profit off of my forged wares. So, and then I remember that in Durin, their steel was priced, I want to say, at like 260 gold for a while. So I was snatching all that stuff up, and then they fixed it.
In Spines, we sell it at 225, but only to citizens, so
yeah,
no dice.
Well, this is kind of a bit of a tangent, but it's related to that. Well, it's kind of part of our treaties talk. Do we think that we will see like economic treaties, but cross tethers now? No, don't think so. That's a shame.
Unfortunately, I don't think we've reached a point where we really feel, or players feel like, at least character-wise, that they can trust each other to have access to like their commodity shops and stuff, especially with how finely tuned some people are about their trade and stuff like that. We might see a little bit, but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know. It's
doubt it.
weird, but I don't know. I feel like the Atolians they're super weird about like when it comes to their commodities and when it comes to like city comms.
yeah,
They're like
agreed.
they like just like rabidly overprotective, and like God forbid anybody steals your city's comms.
Well, the
Like
thing is
talk
you
about being
dictate.
blacklisted forever.
But the thing is, the trade minister dictates how many are available to even sell. So therefore, if they're there to be bought, why are people flipping out that they're being bought? I've seen that in the past. I'm like, so you don't want everybody to buy out this amount, but you also are the one setting how much amounts out there and the price. And you want to sell X amount,
Uh,
but you
I
don't want to sell X
I
amount to
think
X
I
person,
remember
which I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like,
I remember there being a thing when I first came back that there was like some issue with like somebody buying like playing like the commodity market and buying like real cheap from one
Mm-hmm.
city and then selling to another. And uh I mean I didn't see anything particularly wrong with that.
yeah,
I mean
me either.
it's
Like,
just
the cities set their prices at what they want to get the things for, like, or give them away for. Like, it's I don't
right.
understand the problem. Like,
For spines, the reason we did it, at least the way I'm told, this was before me, is that because we set our prices lower, we were typically the target for people buying from us to sell to somebody else, which means that we basically had none available for our citizens. So
Right.
they closed commodities to outside sources to make sure that we could manage our stores, but also make sure there's always commodities available for our citizens, no matter which one it is. So if the comm market, if the comm shops are out, if people are not selling privately, you can always come to the city as a Spines Reach citizen and find comms to buy.
Right. And I think that that's like the same stance that Inorian took in that we wanted cheaper comms to be available for other citizens, and not with the intention of people buying them cheap and then flipping them to other cities to make a profit. Like that was not the intention of setting those prices so low. But I don't know, I feel like that's something that kind of has like a little bit of like personal responsibility in terms of like I feel like if you were just to give the trade minister like a heads up, like, hey, like flip some comms or whatever, can I buy some commodities that won't affect other citizens from buying or whatever. I mean, I think that'd be a reasonable conversation to have.
Mhm.
Or, why even have that conversation in the first place? Because it's not like that type of thing exists anywhere else in like the real world. That, oh, we got to make sure that there's enough for everybody. Well, I have the money to buy it. Sucks to suck that this other person didn't get there first. Like
Yeah.
it's a market for a reason.
Right. Exactly.
But there are regulations in place in a lot of places that do prevent someone from having a monopoly. Um, Governments do tend to heavily regulate how much can be purchased of what by which people to ensure that there is a greater volume to go around. It isn't necessarily just a free market of this person has enough money to buy it all, so we're going to sell it all to them. Again,
Right.
that's a so for me, I will say at least is that Spines is in talks with Bloodlock about possibly opening up our comm market. That's at least a thing that's
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Mhm.
Cross tether, maybe, but we are at least talking to Bloodlock and saying, is this something we can work out?
Right. And I find that fascinating, and that just comes back to the treaties topic of all the things we're getting now for treaties is really fascinating, and it
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I don't know if it has been because I'm not in city leadership really anymore, but like I feel like it's been really understated. Like these are pretty big changes when it comes to political stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
and it's kind
I
of
mean, I
like
think that
everybody's talking
we've
about the
only
auction. So
we've only kind of like briefly discussed this, in terms of Enorian leadership. I mean, I think I only have one mass message about it, and that was to open up like treaty stuff with Durin. But I think that I don't know, the politics thing, isn't really, my forte. So I kind of like leave that to Izia to figure out. Uh, but I think when it comes to like them setting up this whole like new treaty stuff, it's almost like they're trying to release or getting up to like a release of like a new war system, in
It's
that
possible.
like going after other cities. But then again, I think that in terms of like the caravan attacks or whatever,
mm,
which I guess you can attack other cities' caravans
I've
and
never
like take
once
their
seen it.
comms or whatever.
Never once
Like I
seen it.
think Haven mentioned it in Enorian before he dipped, that he wanted to do that. But it's like, again, players they get real upset when people screw with their comms. So
Hmm.
it's like, if you go after one city's comms, even if it's just one time, you smoke a caravan and you make off with that stuff. Like, talk about you're gonna get PK'd into the dirt. So you better be ready for the smoke that
Mm-hmm.
that's coming your way, which I think is like kind of a crappy attitude to have. But like, I also get it that if somebody rolled over one of our caravans and stole a bunch of comms from us, I would be like, well, now I'm gonna kill this person for each commodity they stole.
What we more worried
But
about. Go ahead. Oh, I didn't know you weren't finished. Go ahead.
oh, no, 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 you're good. Go ahead.
Um, what we more worried about, and it was part of the discussion about whether or not attacking caravans, which we actually haven't taken off the table. We just haven't gotten to the point, but is the is retribution, not for people but for caravans. Is the if we attack their caravans, that they're going to attack ours, as long as we keep it to a mutual armistice. Nobody's caravans get attacked. So
Right.
it's one of those things. Again, it hasn't been taken off the table, and Tristan has talked about it multiple times about wanting to do it, and he's honestly been given the okay to do it. Um, but yeah, that's always been the counterpoint of if we attack theirs, they'll attack ours, and it's like, well, that's conflict. Um, so that's kind of the way I've approached it. I see Lee is like conflict happens, and this is part of conflict. If you're not willing to ever risk anything, nothing will ever happen.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
Um,
that's a good attitude to have. But I mean, I think that when it comes to commodities, players think
but yeah,
that, I don't know, they take it very personally. That
hmm
you're coming after them as like a player that that you're gonna, knock over their caravans and steal their shit.
Unfortunately, yeah. I will say for treaties, we are. Let me think. We're Spine's Reach is reviewing the one with Bloodlock to update its proposals and stuff. We're also fixing the ones with our guilds due to the updated ELM cost, to include the ally status to make sure that we're the ELM reduction. I know ELM doesn't really matter at this point because whatever, but he did talk about possibly, capping how much ELM a city can collect or resetting it pretty regularly when there was a topic on the forums brought up about that. So this might be a precursor to that, but we're resetting all of the treaties with our guilds to use the new terms to make sure that we reduce the upkeep to our ELM. What else? We're possibly going to go through some other ones too. It just depends upon the organizations, and kind of see where we stand with that. And yeah, so I mean, at least I can say that from what I've heard, Bloodlock and Spines are both playing with the new treaty terms and updating stuff and trying to use it, at least.
Yep. I don't think we agree a lot, Austin, but I pretty much agree with what you just said about out of character feels and stuff. I think that a lot of interesting things are held back in Aetolia by caring too much about like what somebody's out of character response will be to it. Because again, instead of going for
Huge
it
fucking agree.
instead of going for it and like instead of going for it and creating something interesting or whatever, the alternative, which we all like sit and do, is like, oh, I guess we're just not going to do anything, and then we're going to be sad and go play another game and while we idle, like, it is what it is. Like everybody does that. I'm not singling anybody out by saying, you
Wow,
go.
no, you're absolutely singling me
No,
out
no,
here.
I'm not. No, I'm not. Tons of people do that. I've done it before too.
You're like,
I,
yeah, like, ugh, yeah, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So instead, what do? You just sit there and you
I,
do
I
burn
said,
and like all day while
no,
you go play
listen.
WoW.
No, listen. I said that and then realized that you could have took it that way, and I wasn't meaning it like that. Okay, so like I've done it before too. Like there's been tons of times, even back in the day when I played Shadow, I just sit in my haven sometimes and play WoW or something. But like, you know,
If I
go
if I have
ahead.
nothing else to do, I just find myself a cadre of milky moon boys and throw myself at them and see which one's ready to
Milk
be
Moon and
squeezed.
Spitfin.
Yeah, like we obviously want a good balance. Like I'm not sitting here trying to be like, oh man, I should go kill a bunch of non-coms and people should not log in and I'm gonna feel good about that. I wouldn't feel good about that. What I would feel good about is like there being, like we talked about before, some kind of stakes or interesting content that we ourselves have made, because that's what everybody talks about all the time. They're like, like Zavin's been saying a lot lately and everything. Be the change you want to see. Like you can't just be like, oh, this game's like boring lately, and then not do anything about it because you're afraid that you're gonna piss off someone out of character. Like I think that's one of the most toxic, worst attitudes that we all have. Like, is be like, oh
Well,
god,
I mean, I think it was
like
it was brought up last week that I think the reason why a lot of players, are frustrated with, trying to have like, to be that change is that there's no way for players to mechanically, you know, uh,
when,
have any permanent type of
yeah,
change. Like if you were to, say like, oh, we're gonna go cleanse the Lich Gardens. Like great, like you just go on like a glorified bashing trip and you give it 30 minutes and the whole area is gone. So you've literally accomplished nothing other than making yourself feel good. So like if there was some sort of way where like players can directly affect things, without
right,
having to have like pools interference or pools assistance, I think that would be like a good step in the right direction.
right,
So like I don't know, like I personally liked the idea of like CM back in the day, where I want to say that the mobs changed based on whoever had like recently won it,
right,
but I might be misremembering that.
I think things like CM could be interesting. I understand and actually agree with limiting how much players can affect things mechanically, because depending upon what it is, you're always going to have parameters. And
Right.
then you have to decide how strict those parameters are, how quickly those parameters can be changed over, if they can be at all. At which point we get back to the same argument, because it's like, well, this affects them mechanically, but somebody does 10 minutes of work, and thing we just did doesn't matter anymore. So again, we're back to the nothing really matters mechanically. I know that's not necessarily how it may be approached, but that's how I would foresee the approach being, because as long as there's a flip back and forth, you do your cleansing, it's cleansed, and then Shadow comes in, does 10 minutes of work themselves, and all of the mobs are back, just like it was before.
Right.
That could generate conflict, but I would feel honestly that the argument would get back to, well, we did this thing and yes, it has mechanical benefit, but it's easily remedied. I would say it's just I almost want to say that we almost need to change what we consider conflict, like change the approach to what do we consider a meaningful change and what do we consider conflict, because conflicts can be something as small as a rivalry between two players. It could be something as massive as between guilds, between organizations, between pantheons, but we can create conflict individually between each other and foster that feeling, because while it may not have something large on the world stage, our players, our characters are not the world stage. They're each individual moving pieces in a greater whole.
Right.
And only looking at what we can do and how we impact things on the world stage, that's kind of like considering how each of us individually as people affect the governance of the country in which we live. We don't really individually. So the greater whole kind of brings it together. So I feel like people can get frustrated in the nothing seems to be happening or no conflict seems to be happening because there's no meaningful change that I can see. But you maybe have to reconsider your definitions.
Mm-hmm. I think we're all reading what Austin said in chat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'll also say, like, so those of us that have played this game for a long time know that, like, there are times when the pools have done things in response to what characters have done, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Endorani thing blowing up is a good example. It's a extreme example, a dramatic example, but that's an example. And so my argument is that, like, with the whole mechanical thing is, like, just go out there, don't assume that you're going to get a mechanical change, but if you do something that's meaningful enough and drastic enough and you made that with other players, there's nothing stopping the pools from, at the end of it, without telling you, making some kind of change. But we'll never see that if we don't try, is my point. Like, there's they're not listening to us, like, they know what we're saying and doing, and it's up to us to make the change for them to want to respond to. I think we can't just, like, expect them to listen to our complaints on the forums and stream and Discord and just be like, okay guys, we're gonna because every time they've ever done that, we complain about whatever they put into the game. So why would they then want to do it out of nowhere anymore, like, I don't know. I just think that we should all, like, here's another thing that I would like to talk about. So, like, what is stopping our city governments at all getting together like they did with the Gray Accords and making some kind of, like, Ayatollah Geneva Convention so that we can have conflict but then not piss each other off? Like, what is stopping that?
The gray courts kind of do that already.
Yeah.
But
We still have the Gray Accords.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
saying, why not amend them to have regular conflict without going too far with it? Because that's what everybody wants, and we have a thing like the Gray Accords that can be leveraged to do that, and we just don't. Like, I don't, like...
I would say the only thing the gray courts limits is city rating. Anything else is on the table. That's like the only thing that the gray accords kind of limits. And even then, it actually doesn't limit anything because there's no penalty for anyone breaking any of the what's the word I'm looking for? Any part of the treaty. There's no penalty for either not following it or breaking it. It's literally just a mutual agreement thing that everyone agreed to, and at any time anyone can choose to follow it or not if they want to. The only thing you really kind of sort of get is that if you do a really big oops for 2 years, you don't get to vote in whether or not the accords get invoked. Otherwise, it's just we all mutually agree not to be jerks to each other, but nothing stopping you from being jerks if you want to be.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I guess the idea of coming together and agreeing on having some sort of, because it's like
There you go.
It's like I don't know, why would, if I wanted to fight somebody and I'm like, oh man, for whatever reason today I just want to wake up and fight somebody, and I wouldn't just be like, all right man, let's just punch each other in the balls really fucking hard until we stand it, and then we're good, we can just walk away.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, I don't know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying about like having too much agreement would kind of stifle like one-on-one conflict like we had talked about. But like I'm talking about like what is stopping us? Like we always wait for these big events from admin like the duel or CTF or whatever. What is stopping us from just doing those ourselves, like within
So
role
you mean
play?
having war games,
Yeah,
between between nations?
I passingly mentioned this in Discord the other day, but why do we not have a Grey Accords like Bamathus and Damariel agreed upon like Olympics for Aetolia? Like that's just a way to explain it, but like what is stopping us from doing that? There's nothing
I
stopping
mean,
us from doing that.
I think they still have the mechanics laid down for the Arionic tournament. Like you can still sign up for it if you go through the whole tower thing.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess you can do stuff that's player driven. But I mean, I don't know. That also ties into the culture, ministries or whatever, which I guess kind of branching off slightly to go to Sabati's forum post about how ministries are terrible. Ministries are super outdated and they're all fucking terrible and they need to be destroyed. So
Yeah.
it's if you're gonna do something like this, plan this big global event between cities or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it really falls on a small group of players to put that much work and effort into it,
Right.
so that the rest of us can enjoy it.
Yeah. And
It does.
I think I mean I'm not a city leader and I'm not even on our city council anymore, but I don't think that that's out of the realm of being able to do is my point. And I'm not trying to be super
No.
aggressive about it. I'm just saying like in my brain this is what I think. It's like we have all this potential as a game and as players. And it's like are we really like doing while we complain about it, are we also then trying to do what we can do to make it better, you know? And that's kind of the stuff that runs through my head. It's like, well, what have I been given the tools to do and am I using those tools to the best of my ability? And that's the way I look at it. I don't know.
So I would say that could extend to everybody, though. What's stopping anybody, not just leaders? Because I would have to agree with Ryan that it is a lot of time and effort to plan events. When do we hold them? How many events do we hold? When are we going to have them? Who's going to be around for there? Can you guarantee you're going to be around? What are the rewards going to be? What are the rules going to be? Who's going to be allowed to do what? How are we going to prevent people from gaming these events, depending upon what type of events they are? I mean, and this could just be consideration of just PK or even just RP stuff.
Right.
And then at the end of it, then you even have to hope that people want to participate if credit rewards are even enough to get them to participate. And if it isn't, then you just spent 20, 30, 40 hours of your life planning something that nobody participates in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have to say that, somebody that consistently does, runs a type of event is Rue with the Water Fire
Yeah.
Festival,
Yeah.
which she holds all the time, which is great. I personally hate the timing of it because I think it falls smack dab in the middle of Orrery.
Right. Yeah.
So
You've mentioned that before.
if I'm gonna go to this thing, I have to I can just basically just show up, toss a few emotes, and then it's oh great, well now I got to go for 30 minutes to an hour.
Right.
But I think that she does a great job of limiting how many cooks are in the kitchen, and then I think that it's only her that just runs it, or maybe she might have help with like one other person in terms of making like the gift bags and like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like really, I think she's a great example, and we could probably take like a page out of her book, or at least pick her brain about you know
Yeah.
how many times she's ran this event successfully and had a fair amount of people show up for it. So I think that once you get past that initial hump of oh, you're going to hold an event and not a lot of people showed up, the
Yeah.
to not get discouraged with that,
Right.
to
Yeah.
just be like, okay, it's going to take some time to kind of get this, rolling, because I think that what Atolians respond to well is like consistency with things.
Right.
That if they know that something's coming up, on a consistent basis, like every year or every, 5 years or whatever, that at least they have something to look forward to.
Right. Yeah.
It,
Go
and
ahead.
I would say that, I mean, in something small like that, and I think, and I know like the Seomancers do something similar, in that they have a ball, and that's pretty self-contained. You have a 2, maybe 3 hour event. You maybe have one or two things that happen, like a costume contest or a theme contest or something like that, and it's all contained within this period. That is that's not too hard, and that I can agree can definitely be done consistently. And even if the first one flops or a couple flop here and there, that one can be organized, pretty simply. It's finding that balance between what is considered a simple but meaningful event and something that takes a lot of is going to take a lot of time and effort putting into it, and then the burnout that comes if it doesn't go as planned for the organizer. Like Rue is doing great with that event, and I love the Water Fire Festival and the fact that it is consistent, and is able to do all the planning. But in the grand scheme of how events usually happen with cities and stuff, it is a small contained thing. It's a dance with some gift bags, a costume theme with a contest, and dancing. That's all RP'd out basically.
Right.
So that could be organized by more places more regularly. I agree with that, or something similar to that. It's
Yeah.
it's just the balance of how much, how big is this event and how much time it is actually going to take for an organizer to put into it.
Yeah. And I want to say about that, like, I'm not trying to. I guess I'm blaming the whole game, but I'm also not really trying to blame. Like, it's just more in my head. It's like, I mean, I think we could all do better, the whole player base, myself included, everybody. It's not just like one city or another. I just think that yes, it is disappointing that like some people, like we've all said, we've tried these things before and they didn't pan out. But I think that it's still worth trying, at least every once in a while, trying something again. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like sometimes how when people volunteer, like Solani, and they like try to take, like, I've seen this, at least this happened to me on Empyrean when I volunteered last. There would be times where people would be idling at Kinsamar Crossroads in Empyrean, like it's kind of like their West Gate and Bloodlock or whatever, and they'd be standing there, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna possess one of these guards and I'm gonna strike up a conversation, and then I'd do it, and then like nobody responds because I guess they were all just AFK, idling, right? Well, that didn't mean that I wasn't gonna try again, like just because it failed right then. And granted, there wasn't a lot of effort in doing that in that particular example, but I just think that I don't know. I think if you spread the effort out along more than just yourself, like if you get more people helping you do it, if you get other organizations helping you do it, it's not going to be as bad as everyone thinks, and then we can have a really like interesting time that everybody gets to help out on. I don't know. It's worth trying. That's all I'm saying.
It's not it's definitely worth trying. I agree. It would be, I would say though that if anything, when it comes, at least from a city leader's perspective, a lot of these things are tried, but they're not seen by people because they don't get any further than the planning stage. Like
Yeah.
someone brings up the idea, we start doing maybe some organization, maybe considering it, and then those who were initially involved are no longer involved, or they decide that it's too much, or real life happens, or whatever happens, and it never gets further than the planning stage. So it probably, yeah, it probably happens more often than might be visible, because I can think of, let me think, in the past 2 months, there's been 2, 3, 4, about 5 or 6 ideas that have all entered the planning stage within Spine's Reach for some sort of small event. Only 2 of them at the moment do I feel are actually going to go anywhere further than the planning stage. So, but nobody knows is going to see them. Nobody who isn't involved in the government is actually going to see that. And we're definitely not going to make any notes or anything or say anything on a news that, hey, this thing might be going on, or we're starting to plan this event, and then it doesn't happen, because that's how you get backlash. And that's just disappointing for everybody and puts expectations on the person who's just considering it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say that a lot of things enter the planning stage and never go any further.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So,
But good on them
Right.
for still like getting it that far. It's better than not, for sure, I think.
yeah, yeah. No, I just wanted to add that in there, in the, in the sense of this isn't happening, and I wanted to clarify that it sort of is ish. It's just not necessarily visible unless you're one of the people who have a hand in what's going on.
Yeah. So before
I
we
mean,
got
I
off
think
on this, oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say real quick before we got off on this tangent, we can finish this tangent. After this tangent, do we want to go back and talk about any more treaty stuff, or are we good on that?
yeah, I think I'm good on that.
I'm good.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was gonna say that I think the reason, like personally, why I'm reluctant to to do any sort of, I don't know, big Inorian event is because, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, like a couple weeks, that we've had like almost too much going on. And I know that, like, for me, like Dar had mentioned to his order that he wanted us to look into the thing with the uh, those like restless like shades or whatever in El Jazeera,
Mm.
so which was like a bloodlock event. So while that was all going on, Dar's order was over there trying to do that, and then it like turned into like an ethne thing, or like a joint ethne and Norian Dar thing slash, and then it suddenly became all of Spirit, and then there was that little in El Jazeera, and then along the same time of that, then we have the stuff with the K cult going on. So it's just like there's so many different global events going on, like kind of all like it all just kind of hit like at the same time that I we must have had like literally every day, probably like 20 to 30 mass messages like flying back and forth between all the heralds. And it just became very confusing to keep stuff on the same page because stuff was happening like while I was logged, but not while, Kayara was logged in, or while Velhema was, was not logged in. So it was just trying to update all these other people. And it just became very just mentally exhausting of just, rather than just being like, some stuff happened, you missed it. I'll let you know, like, if anything comes of it. So it's just like I think that I'm reluctant to start something on a player level in the I don't know, kind of preparing myself that something might pop off,
Right.
like globally like that. And I know that um we just like caught a cultist, the other day in Anorian, and we killed him. Uh,
Yep.
Oh,
and
right.
so like I was kind of like, you kind of never know, like just kind of just leaving a little breadcrumb so people you know don't get bored of it, and they know that something's coming, or is this like the first breadcrumb that leads to you know something huge, like something bigger. So, and I think that's a lot of like what leads into like the apprehension on my in terms of you know trying to do something bigger.
Right. Yeah. I understand. And I think going back to that, it might be helpful that I don't know if this happens or not already, but it might be helpful if the Solani that are going to run these events, like, don't tell us what's going to happen, obviously, but like just tell city leadership, like, hey, I'm going to try to do a thing at this time, especially if it's something you're planning out on a specific date as a Solani. Like, I understand if it's just like you wake up and you want to do something and you didn't plan it out or whatever, like you're just spur of the moment doing it, but like, yeah, it might be good to like if the Solani could be like, "Hey, city leaders, there might be a thing happening at X, Y, or Z time." But that's just my
Hmm.
opinion.
I mean, and I think that that's like fine to to communicate to certain players, especially in there might be something going on like around this time, like which is great for us to know, but like you can't make like a vague city post that like oh, attention all citizens, you guys should probably be online around howling because wouldn't you know some stuff might go down, like I feel like that's just like that's really poor form. But on the other hand, if you don't make it known to people that like people won't show up. So like I remember we had like this Templar like org rec or something. I think that was about the slavers in Esterport,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, I wanted to be there for it, but I think I was at work, and yeah, so like I totally missed it. And then I think this event that was supposed to be like for the whole guild, it only ended up being for like 3 people. I think it was like Kalina, Aisling, and maybe Benedicto or maybe Rasani. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
But so it's like you can really only plan for so much, you know. But at the end of the day, like people's real lives kind of get
Yep.
in the way, and they're doing other things, like which is fine. But I don't know. It's almost like being in the restaurant industry, trying to get all these servers and line cooks and all stuff together so people can go hang out. Uh, they almost like never show up, and they kind of just everybody just shows up whenever they show up, or they don't show up. So just basically plan for nobody to be there, but hope that people do show up.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah. And I think and that kind of goes into with even player ran events too, because I think the biggest thing really is real life and what's going on. Um, it's hard to dedicate a lot of time to something or assume that something is going to happen, or rather that an event is going to actually move past a planning stage, because real life happens to all of us, and it should always be a priority no matter what's going on in game. Um, so it's kind of an assumption of, yeah, this idea is really cool. I think I'm going to work on it. I'm going to get out a draft and stuff. I'm going to work on an outline for it. But then real life happens and I don't have time for it anymore. So even though it was a great idea and it was going somewhere awesome, it didn't really end up going anywhere because that. So it's events are tough for both Solani and for people and for players, just because it is because of real life, and otherwise you can't really guarantee um, you can't really guarantee when something, when if there's people going to be around, or if there's going to be people available, or what's going to happen. So I kind of like that the starts of these events, like the start of the cult stuff, was really small, and it stayed fairly small, and I've actually enjoyed that,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think any one thing that's happened so far, anyone's really felt like that they've missed out on something crucially important to whatever's happening around it, because each instance of it has been a pretty small happening. So, and I appreciate that, because I shouldn't say everybody, but I know plenty of people get bummed out if they miss out on the big event, capital B, because it
Yeah,
just the only time that the admin could do it was when they could fit it, and hopefully, and just hope the most people are around. So,
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's quite a balancing act. And uh, like I've said before, a lot of us have volunteered in the past, so we know how it is from that angle as well.
Mhm.
And that that's never going to change, unfortunately, on these games. Like that's just the nature of humans and stuff like that, and the way life goes. Um, that being said, I don't want anyone, any volunteer, Solani, or anyone, even paid, to think that we are not appreciative of when they do stuff for us like that, because a lot of us really enjoyed all of it. It's just like, I know that like when it comes to like for example, Orgrex and stuff like that, Org requests, like obviously you have to talk to city leaders for that, and you have to plan a little bit with them, and it would just be nice if like you could do a little bit of planning with us out of character on the timing. That's all. Doesn't mean don't do it at all. Just like that's just one thing we would all find to be a big quality of life, I'm sure.
I mean, I can only speak from my personal experience that whoever the Solani was that did that org rec that I was talking about with the Templar, they
Mhm.
definitely did communicate to Benedicto and Kalina
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's good.
that what time they wanted to do it. So,
Okay, good.
yeah. So I mean, and I don't know. Like I mean, I think most of us at this point have been up in the pools,
Right.
and being a Solani is definitely a thankless job.
Oh yeah.
Like however however much or however little time you put into and coming up with events to do stuff with players. Like I was not a coder Solania, um, so like most of my interaction was with uh, was with other players and with my order
Mhm.
members, and I enjoyed that. And I don't know, I kind of just lost my train of thought there for a second.
It's okay.
But
We're going off on a tangent about
um
volunteering,
yeah,
basically.
but it was I don't know, it's a thankless job. And I mean, I think that I love the esteem system that people are able to to tell the pools that they're doing a good job, or to give
Yeah.
back. And I
Yep.
think that any sort of feedback definitely goes a long way. So I mean, anytime that there's some sort of like mob possession or whatever, I think I'm usually pretty good about giving feedback to the pools and say, hey, thanks for taking the time out to do this, or you guys are awesome. Like especially with the Cult of K thing. Like I was not expecting that to pop off because I think I was like semi AFK at like approaching an Orion, and like this like black robed figure like bumped into Saran and dropped this music box, and like just idiot me was like, oh, this is. And so like I was fiddling around with it, like probe music box, open music box, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just play this. And then I got sucked into it, and this thing like basically like one shot me.
One
So, and I
shot
was
the
like, going forward,
Templar,
yeah.
but
So
this
going
Archivist
forward,
was
I think
just fine.
I should probably not, open, strange boxes, dropped by, hooded figures.
Probably not the best call. For
Unless
Yeah,
you're an
no,
Archivist.
I don't know if you
yeah,
guys that are
no.
talking with me are actually watching the stream, but I esteem the pools on our behalf, and they sent me a little response in like a room emote. It was nice of them.
I will say that the Solani who's been working with the Archivists and Spines Reach has been doing an amazing job. And I let them know already, and the pools know. But they've been doing an amazing job with Orgrex and even just small RP, like with the Den of Shadows, and even just with the Archivists in general, like with the weaving in the Archivists um, NPC that we had popping up every so often, Jashin, with the cultist deck of cards. I
Mm.
mean, that was absolutely great, and and it's continued to be these things that have just been really fun. And with Orgrex, it's been communicated 100%. I have one that I'm waiting to hear back about a time once all the nuts and bolts get finished being worked out. Um, we're just waiting to organize a time for that to happen. So the current Solani group at least has been very communicative when it comes to Orgrex and other things when it comes to city stuff. And even with like events that are ongoing, they've done a good job of positioning things in the well, for example, the Den of Shadows. So near the end of it, um, we had found the entrance to the den. We were all ready to gung ho to go down into it, but the NPCs around it were like, we want to make sure that there's no booby traps, or we want to make sure that there's no other way they might get out. The citizen might want to do some more exploring to see if there's anything else any kind of secure perimeter kind of thing. And so it was a suggestion and stuff in a way that was hey, the Solani doesn't have time to actually do this event, or they're not ready to finish this event right now. Here's some RP reasons to take a couple in-game weeks to give them time to do what they need to do. And that's been happening quite a bit with stuff, and that's been absolutely amazing because it gives that RP of, hey, we're not quite yet. But here's roughly a time when this might happen. Not a guarantee, but roughly.
Yeah.
But also communicating directly with it.
I actually really love that, because that gives kind of do their own thing surrounding that area or surrounding that event, to branch off and do personal RP stuff that incorporate into it. But then once the event's ready to go, it's almost like they can have the your player driven stuff can run parallel to it and kind of come together at the,
so
and I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, they were super responsive with everything. Like even finding the Den of Shadows, like the entrance, it was I just decided to emote something in the moment dealing with numerology, and I got a little bit of text back when the Shady Man left, and so then I started continuing doing my own thing, and I got a compass given to me by Aline, and the Solani was making the compass kind of work with numerology, and it was just, there was still this thing going on over here that was happening around Spine's Reach and with the Sisson, and I was over here doing another thing. And because of what I had done, some stuff that kind of led to help uncover kind of where the next step was in a fluid, in a fluid way. And that was there was a lot of in the moment responses with the entire thing. So it was actually absolutely amazing. And there were so many options to given for personal RP. I can think of almost, I think everyone who was pretty closely involved with that got a chance to branch off and do some of their own personal RP with or without the Solani around to respond. So it was, I'm hoping to see more of that because it was really, really good, rather than just hey, I don't have time right now, can we pick this up or something like that, or just leaving you on red basically when you have started something. It's just been really good.
Yep. Solani are doing a good job. Yeah, it's good stuff. So, do we want to go ahead and get one of our next topics started?
Sure.
We've got class lead talk. We've got the code gate stuff you mentioned, side in. We've got we can talk some more about the Cult of K stuff, more in depth. And then Steve had a guild versus guild discussion thing for Templar versus Carnifex.
I'd be okay continuing to talk about the Cult of K.
Okay.
I don't think that we really touched upon that yet.
Yeah.
I know that on the official Atolian Discord, they've talked about how Kepri is definitely, absolutely not coming back.
Yep.
And a lot of speculation was that it could have been the Cult of Karn. I think that the K thing is just kind of a clever misdirection, and I'm not really sure this is anybody acting on behalf of some dead goddess, but I think there's definitely something bigger going on here.
Yeah.
But it's kind of whenever stuff happens like this, it's like players are trying to scramble to gather as much information as they can, and there's so much bad information that it makes it very difficult to have any sort of actionable intelligence that you can that you can do anything in character about, because I think the Enorian had thought that the kobold in Sedive was selling those Kingslayer decks or whatever, that those were had something to do with with murdering the Vanguard or the Cherub Spy or something. like that. But then I guess like
Oh.
after Satan hauled this kobold off to the Iron Maw for some some quote unquote re-education.
Oh boy.
I think we found out that he it was just like a little game that that the fools had just added into the thing.
It wasn't re-education. It was a voluntary mandatory tour of a cell. Okay.
So it's a tactical baptism. The waterboarded this poor kobold.
I didn't quite get that far. It was he said some things that made me worry that I was going to cut off the entire city from being access to play the game at all. So I was like, I can't quite take this as far as I would normally.
Right. I'm gonna put the screws to him.
Yeah, it was not his finest moment. Yeah, no, the the release of those games along with the cult has been absolutely hilarious. The Kingslayer and then Canumbers, which it's been the cult has been great. Like there's been a lot of things around it. The Sai has his own idea of what the K stands for. He's had a couple ideas from the beginning ish before Kepri was even mentioned through more revelation as being the person that the cult was behind. And that was with interacting with the music box, because after he got the music box and dispatched that demon, that thing inside it that apparently was too tough for a Templar to handle.
Hey man, it was a bad stat month. Okay, I don't think I had a blessing. I mean,
yeah.
But like there was a lot of imagery and stuff with it, and he was like going, okay, it could be this, it could be that, it seems related to this, it does that. Hilariously, I actually got I got some feedback from the Solani that the idea behind it wasn't actually too kind of far from what Ethne was mentioning, which was the sort of prankish, because the idea behind it was that someone would play it, they would get sucked in, they would die, and somebody else would pick it up later and go, "What's this?" And then the archivist stuck it in a specially made box that never comes out of, and Sidon has the only key. So
now if only you guys could do the same thing about that fucking rocking chair that keeps showing up.
we tried. We actually tried. Aline actually tried something with it, and when she tried something with it, it knocked her off balance for 8 seconds.
Jeez. Intense.
I think now that when you sit in the rocking, it knocks you off balance for like 30 seconds or like a minute.
It wasn't intense enough, apparently.
Right. So when that rocking chair first showed up in Anorian, like this was like day one of it, like popping up. They were I think I like somebody from Spine's Reach had mentioned that there was this this cursed rocking chair, and I was like, oh well, I'm just mushroom. So I went and grabbed this mushroom sigil, and I blew up the rocking chair, and it like didn't exist. And man, I was sitting so smug at my computer. I was like, oh, this stupid Solani, like I just blew up your item,
Ho ho ho.
Like literally like 10 minutes later, it like all the splinters like reformed into this chair. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Good for them for actually putting some RP behind it versus just pop, here's a new chair.
Right, yeah.
Oh man, no, this has been great because they've gotten more and more creative. So the box was intended to be like dropping stuff. We shoved it in its own box so it couldn't go anywhere. So they were like, we need to be more creative. Then came the knife with Mati that could not be dropped. And once it was in someone's possession, you could not drop it. You could not let it go. It could only be moved from person to person. And
by
then
stabbing
Aline, you pointed it.
Could you give
at
it to somebody?
No, you pointed it, and it like went flying to them. It got temporarily misplaced when Aline got a little too stabby once. But that's neither here nor there now.
What? Aline? Murderous?
No.
She
Never.
maybe was told by a voice in the knife that if she chopped off the head of her daughter, it would give her secrets.
Oh boy.
Like,
I had no idea Aline even had a daughter.
Right?
She does. It's one that she tried to drown at birth.
Does she still have this daughter?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's the person who's planning maybe coming on next week.
Oh.
Oh, cool.
As the story goes, Aline tried to drown her in Black Lake, but she survived, and Aline is disappointed.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
yeah, she would be.
It is Aline.
Right.
And then let's see the chair, which defies any attempt to lock it up or anything. It cannot be stopped. And then there was the playing deck, which I need to see if they fix that. There has been some development around that. That one cannot be stuck at anything. We've tried to put it in a box. It falls out of the box. So we're very upset about that. But there was some RP that started around it and it changed a little bit mechanically, but apparently we used it too hard and it was broken. And I'm waiting to see if the program got fixed on it because we tested it too vigorously. Squeezed it too hard.
That's relatable.
This is what so no joke. So after Side left the Shaman's Guild Hall with a knife, the voice thing was still going on. The Solani was still there, and there was talk about secrets and talks about power and stuff. Got all the archivists together, went into our super secret room, our bat cave underneath the Archivist Guild Hall, and no joke, the first thing we're talking about is who do we kill to possibly get these secrets, and at least 2 or 3 different people volunteered.
Wow.
To be a sacrifice to see if we actually got secrets out of it. We didn't, unfortunately, and it didn't come to actually killing anybody. It did come to stabbing more people, but nothing changed from that. So after stabbing like 6, maybe, I think 6.
You had to think about that one. How many people did I stab at this time?
It wasn't just me. We were all stabbing each other. But because
fair.
that's how you pass the knife around. But this is what the archivists have been doing. How does this thing work? Does it kill us? If it does kill us, do we get anything out of it killing us? And yeah, it's been really fun because these artifacts have been popping up in new and interesting ways, and I've been waiting for more of them to pop up. Like I've been waiting for the next one to be something completely outrageous, just like a sphere that makes everyone dance when it blows up in a room or something, or I don't know, a disco, like a disco ball. You drop it and it just everybody discos. That'd be weird. It would fit though, and then literally you cannot stop discoing until you die.
Oh
Yeah,
boy. That sounds.
I could see that.
That sounds like an auction item.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I've appreciated that there's just been lots of little things because even with everything that I've been able to collect or have been told to me, the dancing plague,
good one, Salts.
There's still so much going around. Like, I don't think anyone's actually told Sai yet that a cultist member was found and killed in Norian, because if he has known, he would have asked, "Where is the body, and why is the body still not there?" and be very upset.
I think I don't know. After we had killed the cultist or whatever, I went and like tried to like string it up, like at the like south of the landward gate, but I don't know. I mean, I did like a like a little emote of like string, and then I like dropped the corpse so I could like pose it, just so that way that like there didn't have to be any, I don't know, any like hard coded like
Right.
But but as far as I know, like when I went to go pose the corpse, it just it didn't change the room description or anything.
Did the corpse reset, or did you just stick it in a box somewhere?
No, I just left it there in the street.
Oh.
So I'm assuming it decayed because when I went back, like,
dang it.
Right. Yeah, probably not the smartest to just leave like this, this cultist
Right?
corpse just laying
You're
around. Like, oh, this is fine, and then come back and it's gone. Like, not
aren't
Oh,
suspicious at
it
all.
just the crows just ate it. Oh
Ar-
well.
aren't you supposed to respect the
Right.
dead as a member of Dar's order too? Like, I mean,
No,
I don't.
I'm
Oh
just
no.
I'm just here
Okay.
to kill people.
Oh, okay. So you're just you're like the arm of death, like we used to have on Empyrean.
Pretty
The
much. That's a cool title. I should do that.
Yeah. The,
the archivist just would have chopped it up, would have started just taking pieces from it, looked at its face, been like, what does it look like? What race? Has there been any modifications? Let's take pieces of its body. What else can we do to find out more about this cultist? What does it taste like? Does it change colors if you put it in water?
What? I was just switching over my audio to my computer and just heard, what does this cultist taste like?
right? Chicken.
Welcome to the archivists. Today,
Can we milk this cultist? I think that's the important question.
Okay.
yes.
First off, that is an incredibly uncomfortable question.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Rigor mortis has sent in, so I say the answer is yes.
The cult of the milkmen. Yeah, I haven't personally had a lot of interaction with the cult stuff. It kind of started before I started playing again, but I was there for that when we killed that cultist. It got really spammy on the city channel, by the way, because the cultists kept trying to call for help to the city guards because of the way the code was working. So
Because it was said as loyal.
yeah, but they fixed it kind of quick, and it also was set as invincible for the first little bit, and then they changed it. So. But that's okay. I'm guessing that means they did not expect us to kill it. But
Yeah, because when we first started attacking it, it was really it was like deflecting attacks
yeah,
like the whole time. So
kind of like the Tolinar Misty form or whatever.
yeah,
Mm.
But yeah, they changed it pretty quick and adapted. So kudos to them for adapting.
Yeah. No, I love it. I like the fact of how long it's being stringed out. I like how we keep getting a little bit more each time, and how difficult it is right now to really definitively say anything. Like there's lots of little tidbits, but it's spread out everywhere that even the red yarn isn't helping at this point.
even
So
the what?
the red yarn to connect the dots on the.
Oh, the red yarn. Okay.
Stop thinking about milking the moo cows.
Hey man, the Milky Moon has risen.
Yep.
Oh man. But yeah, and it's like, but it's even given chance for things to happen, other things to happen. Like I know Spine's Reach, it because of the chair and other stuff. We're technically under sort of at least as far as the law will allow, we're technically under like a martial law, which Sai has basically empowered the security, the warden and security aides to, if they feel there's probable cause, to stop and question anybody for anything, which for spines is kind of outside the norm of, welcome everybody. We're, as long as you respect the laws, come and go as you please.
Mm-hmm.
It's, we're much more, everything's much more tightened down right now with security measures, and like anything out of the ordinary is supposed to be reported. People not doing security measures for houses and shops and other stuff could possibly get in trouble. Like we're still following our laws, but we're definitely much more of a, this cult is not going to infiltrate more than it already has kind of thing, and trying to prevent it from going further than it has been, like possibly having our guards killed or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an
Yeah.
interesting event. I just hope that they don't take a page out of World of Warcraft's book where they keep not explaining things over and over and over in the story. Because that's been that game's biggest thing lately. It's like, we hate the jailer, but nobody really knows his motives forever. And I'm just saying it'll be nice to see the conclusion to it and see what it was all about.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that with each little I don't know, each new thing that like happens, that we learn a little bit more about what's potentially going on, and I'm kind of intrigued to see where this whole thing's going to go.
Yep.
So, and I think that with the way that things are going right now, that it probably won't go somewhere that we'll expect.
And that would be great. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to that, M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah. Yep.
At the end of it, it's going to be like, it was me, Minotaur Dio, all along.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was me, Bamathus, all along.
Oh god.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah. Okay. So, are we good on Cult of K?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got class leads, code gates, and guild versus guild stuff.
I guess we can do class leads. I got my video working. I posted my link in Discord. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Okay.
Let me look. Discord arena. Oh, your video. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I will import you real quick so we can all see Steve again. Let me turn his overlay on real quick. If I can. I gotta delete that. Man, making me do work here. How dare you?
That's the idea.
Okay. Nope, wrong one. I guess I could delete that one. I never did. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and import you, and then I'll figure out your webcam frame in a second. Do.
Okay. Yeah, so I think class leads, there were a whole bunch that went through. I know I submitted a couple different things. Primarily about Templar Retribution and putting a cooldown on shields, so that way it's not like a that's like not the meta.
There we go. Oh. Uh-oh. He cut out on us. The video feed cut out.
Let me start it again.
And your voice had cut out a little bit too, but
okay.
But we can still hear you now though. I think.
Okay.
Sort of.
Yeah. Okay. So putting a cooldown on shields, that way it's not that's not basically all people can do in sect and arena. So I think that would go a long way with changing, the whole, I don't know, reset mentality of like just constantly running away.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while. Like, that seems to be a thing that they've left in the game for a long time, and I'm not sure if they're going to change. I mean, obviously, I'm not exactly Mr. Sect or 1v1, but like even when I've tried Sect, like even 2 years ago or whatever, it was all about like, oh, who can run away and reset and survive, and yeah. I stuff like that is why I don't really care much for it. I find it to be kind of boring for it all to be about like, oh, I ran away and reset, and I reset faster than you did, and I don't know.
So as we talked about, finding a balance with that is going to be the biggest thing if it does go through, because with a lot of classes being based around momentum afflictions, you have to have an ability to slow down their momentum in some way, and that's where shield comes in or moving comes in. That's just part of the meta of combat at the moment. With the speed of combat where it is, you can't. If the other person starts to get ahead of you, you don't really have a way of somehow. Typically, I should say, sometimes you do, but typically, you don't get a way of just somehow pulling ahead of them. You have to be able to mitigate their momentum in some way to be able to try to regain the upper hand, be it resetting some of their afflictions, resetting a limb or two, whatever that might be. So those who just use shield endlessly, yeah, that can get annoying. And that typically points to something with curing or something like that, or trying to figure out a routing or something. So I can see why that could be useful in those situations. But it's just finding the balance of where that cooldown would actually sit. That's going to be the hardest problem, of finding that sweet spot of it being to where it's actually useful, but not so debilitating that shield is not usable at all, especially against a class that has really high affliction rate or a really fast momentum cycle versus, say, something that maybe takes a little bit more longer to build up or something of that nature. For example, Seomancer can be extremely difficult to pull back from after a certain point, and you may have to shield a couple times in a row before you can actually start to make start to make some dent into the momentum that they've gained. And especially since it's already difficult to move against them as it is with Nyctophobia. Carnifex and Wardens have the same situation, especially with Wraith, of you have to attempt to shield at least twice before you can even shield once to attempt to slow them down. And in most cases, then the only option you really have to slow them down really is attempting to move, because shielding is not reliable because of that shield Wraith affliction. So it's, with combat 1v1 being so momentum based, that's where the difficulty comes in, is what options do we have to slow down momentum when you're falling behind? And where do we find the sweet spot of completely stalling and just letting the fight draw, and giving a penalty for someone who's attempting to just stall the fight and draw?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree that there needs to be.
You're echoing.
Needs to be.
Just mute your
Whoops.
video.
Yeah.
Still.
All right. Yeah, I got
okay.
it.
Sorry.
I think there needs to be. It needs to be definitely kind of finally looked at. I think even prior to the shield thing, I think it had been tossed around, the idea of adding in battle hunger into like sect fights. Which I'm not sure how viable that would be. I mean, because like the current meta seems to be, you know, man, I don't know what's going on with my webcam today.
It's fine now.
And then I think that Mazian also submitted a report too about Tumble, and I think that doing Shield and Tumble, like having both those reports go through, would almost be too much. So I'd rather just have one or the other, you know?
Yeah, I would say right now, because of how iffy Shield is, of where that sweet spot lies, I'm more for the Tumble one. I think it needs to be adjusted just a tiny bit to a bit more afflictions before you start lengthening it out, or making it depend upon either 4 or 5 afflictions and then it's longer, or like 2 limbs or something like that. Look at this, maybe some combinations. But I can definitely agree with Tumble getting to be longer, because there are quite a few people I've fought against who, you basically have them on the ropes and they just start tumbling over and over and over to reset. And
yeah, I've fought a couple people like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done it myself to try to reset too, because that's what you sometimes got to do. But that's what I was attempting to get back in the game. It doesn't always work, and sometimes it does. But it also then would point to having to be more aware of where you are actually in the affliction race. Of, are you at a place where you should be thinking of shielding or moving already, or did you wait too long? And in my opinion, typically, if you're tumbling, you probably waited too long.
Right. I mean, I know that personally, I have a big problem with trying to figure out when I'm supposed to tumble or when I'm supposed to shield, because I don't know. I've never been that type of person to run away like in the middle of a fight. Like maybe if I have to get like a split second of of breathing room, but for the most part, I will stand there until I either win or die. So.
Yeah, me too. But that's why I don't do 1v1. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time, and I used to be someone who didn't like to run away or anything like that, but I've learned to accept that that's just part of the meta. That's just part of how combat works these days. It's if you're really serious about doing 1v1, you have to accept that that's just part of the mechanics that are built into it now. And
Right. Yeah.
so that's kind of where we're at, unfortunately. So it's I think it's it's what happens when you have so many classes that are just based on momentum, because the only way to really stop momentum is to remove the momentum, which is shielding or moving. There isn't like a thing where you can kind of take it semi-slow and then you see a sudden burst window. The only class that can really do that is like Sisson.
Right. Yeah.
But most of them are you start at a certain point and then you push until you just start stacking and cascading, and then you're eventually too far gone. And that's kind of where we're at right now with almost all the classes.
I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think that some classes, they definitely have an easier time that like once they start going, that they can just keep going. And I know that we're having a hard time right now getting Templar really to sort of work in groups, because you can't stick more than one conviction like per target. So basically, if you're going to go and do like a big fight like that, you basically have to have like a person designated who's going to do retribution, while the rest of the group goes like impale or another Afru that doesn't have conviction, because you don't want to overwrite that.
Yeah.
I guess alternatively, what would be like a kind of like a band-aid solution to that is to just give conviction applying like a 3P message, so that way you can like remove it from your AF tracker.
We
So
have to do something similar to that with mutagen. And it's actually already built into Sunder, where it tracks someone else's mutagen and checks if it's true or false before applying it with Archivist.
okay, I mean, so that just might be as simple as just kind of just
Yeah.
copying the code layout and just making it work for conviction rather than mutagen. So, but yeah, I mean that would definitely work. So that if it's not already like that, then it definitely should be like that.
Yeah. I say that with Revenant, with group 5, unless there's only like one, we typically don't actually do the call route, which would be Retribution. We have a couple different damage routes or affliction routes. Not even have to worry about that as a reason, because of the way that we're building out the support for other kill methods. So physical afflictions to help with archivists, afflictions in general to help with Inrani, limbs, just hinder in general.
Right. I think I actually mentioned that yesterday, because we were talking about it on the Spirit Combat Clan, about how it almost seems like that Shadow side is a little bit more coordinated when it comes to these group fights, and that they're setting up particular people for kills. Whereas like if we go in like Spirit side goes to a lesser, we're kind of just going an affliction route until we manage to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Versus like, Shadow side, you're specifically setting up, Tina to get Vivisect, or you're setting up, Meal to pull off a pulverize, or, whatever.
Well, yeah. We talk about that before a group fight. We talk about which route are we going. Are we going straight AFs? Are we going limbs? Are we going affliction? It depends upon group composition, who's all there. If there's an archivist there, maybe one person will make sure that there's physical AFs ongoing to do unravel support.
Right.
Definitely setting up limbs, because limbs is very popular, because that could be either setting up for Vivisect or Pulverize. So we might have multiple people on Epteth duty. So yeah, we like to test these too. So we definitely try to coordinate stuff, and work out what works with what and how we do it, and which insta kills we actually have access to in a short amount of time. Because I mean, the only ones that we really have quick access to are going to be Pulverize, Deform, Vivisect, and Unravel, because Call takes Paralysis and a stack ton of afflictions. Deform, sort of ish, but it's like a last ditch if not everything else is working. We'd prefer Vivisect. Unravel is a pretty fast one because it only takes 6 afflictions, so
Right.
that's a good one to build towards. So yeah, it just depends upon, and then we also just have our straight Impale, especially if we have multiple Revenants, because that's a quick and dirty way of just getting someone on the ground or getting them prone and just stacking apps until you can extirpate or disembowel them, because that's easy enough to do, especially when you have multiple afflicting classes.
Well, I mean, I don't think that Impale has really been working so well for Spirit side, just because I know that Tina and Mazzy and I think Mule for sure absolutely use the dispersion, whereas I feel
Yep.
like that on Spirit side, a lot of us forget to turn it on.
Yeah, no,
So
there's a lot of auto dispersion. So, but that's kind of something that's been built into their systems. So,
Yeah, well, in my experience of doing lessers on this character for the better part of the last couple years, it's and going to him a lot. I hardly ever see Shadow use Impale on us, to be honest. Like that's a lot of that's why we don't use Dispersion, because we typically don't have to. But
well, we really didn't get access to it until recently.
Right.
I mean, Carnifex could impale, but they're much better at pulverizing than doing an impale and a skewer and then a wrench or something like that. There's no reason. It's only until we got transpierce recently that we even have like dedicated impale routes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, when I impale people at a lesser, it's like when I play my Templar with the two-handed blade, I literally have my own like custom thing I've made in Sunder for it. Like it's not really an impale route, it's just impale if you see that you can impale, otherwise just hit with damage. Like I'm not really hitting with afflictions to try and set up an impale. But I will say that I have found that with the way things are with blade charging and stuff, it's better to just save up 140 blade charge if you can, to just instantly impale somebody, because you can do that off of like doing a stun for free off of Vorpal.
mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
do stun into impale, and that's just what I do when I do that, because it's not worth it to try with the way things are. It's not worth it to try and use Crescent at all. Like it's just a pointless skill because of the change that was made. And
You can use Hemorrhage until you can get enough for Vorpal, though, or not for
yeah,
Vorpal, but for Adel.
yeah,
Whatever stun. I don't
yeah.
know.
That's what I do. I just do nonstop hemorrhage with the two-handed blade, because it's the only thing that's worth doing. There was a thing that me and Benedicto had me try and do a couple years back. We tried it for a little while, where you use deadening and stun. Deadening like the affliction that makes stuns
Mhm.
last longer, and then because you can stun with every hit as a Templar because it's an empower. So if
Yep.
you do deadening and stun in the same combo, you can make your stun last a little longer. But it's still not that useful, because like there's not a big difference at a lesser between half a second stun and 3/4 of a second stun or whatever.
Yeah.
right.
So
I mean, but doesn't like continuous stun like that have diminishing returns? Just so that way you can't like basically that be your entire offense.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We try to find ways around using stun. I mean, there is stun, but we try to find other afflictions that can give prone otherwise. Indifference is a good one.
yep. We were talking about that on the clan as well the other day.
Yeah,
Indifference.
because it's really just a thing that just treats as prone, and
Yep.
as soon as you get indifference, you can impale or do whatever things that require prone and not fallen. That's why we focus limbs for pulverize, because it's the one thing that requires fallen instead of prone. And then we're
I didn't
starting to get
know that.
regular. Yeah, there's a difference, and
Yeah, there is.
but we've been starting to get regular Seomancers back too, which has been starting to change up our tactics a little bit again. some more too, which has actually been really nice because having a Seomancer on the field has been helpful. Just in general, because between their afflictions, their damage, and then having the option of Aegis, especially if it's a time where we have fewer people around. Just because it's a really useful tactic for uneven numbers when they do happen.
Yeah. On the topic of Sciomancers, because I call them Sciomancers, I don't know what the correct pronunciation is.
Skymancers, whatever. You can call it whatever.
If people are going to start playing Sciomancer again, I beg of you, please be careful with Labyrinth. Because I have multiple times in the past been like not have aura and literally not be trying to be in a lesser and try to run past it, and I get labyrinthed into aura and killed while not having aura, and I hate that.
See,
Like
that's the hard part, though. I mean, that's what we were talking about, possibly getting a thing where you could do a toggle to have
Yeah.
it path around
yeah,
the area that's unstable, because that's a big ask to say don't put labyrinth in unstable areas.
no, I mean like
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much goes the same rules as setting up any other sort of like defense. Because I know that there was a lesser, maybe a month ago, that Dristan was setting up firewalls outside of the unstable area, which is like a
Yeah.
big no-no.
No, yeah.
So,
if you don't,
I
if
feel
you do
like
it
that if
outside the unstable, I agree with you.
well, that's
Right,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. I've been labyrinthed from outside of unstable and pulled into an unstable and then killed.
Oh, yeah. If
Like-
people are doing that, I would be 100% against that.
Yeah, and at the time it was Nasavi, who we know doesn't play now, and I don't think that they meant to, because we had talked about it afterwards. But that's my point. Like, even if you're not meaning to, please don't do that. I think it's like just I don't know. It's just kind of like really bending the rules in a way that don't need to be.
No, the two Sciomancers I've seen who have been showing up know to keep it within the unstable area. So I don't think that's really going to be a problem. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee it won't. I mean, it might
Right.
happen from time to time. I know I've ran into traps outside unstable areas before.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah, it is hard. I guess it is kind of hard to stop, but it just feels really bad because I'm not the only one I've seen happen. Like non-coms have that happen to them too. You like from both sides and stuff like that.
if it's
and
been
newbies.
inconsistent, yeah. Now I will say the only way you would get hit by the labyrinth is if you're on the Sciomancer's enemy list.
Yeah.
So non-coms are fine with that, because if they're a non-com, they shouldn't be on the enemy list to begin with.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, the easiest way to beat a labyrinth is if you're going if you think you're going into an unstable area, glance in the direction, see if there's a labyrinth, and throw a monolith. Congratulations, the labyrinth has been beaten.
Yep. So, on the topic of class leads, is there anything else like specific to class leads you all want to talk about? Like any particular reports?
I've rejected most of them.
Oh yeah.
Like,
all right, Dick.
Good guy side in over there.
it's just most of them are. I mean, many of them are unnecessary, and I'm including on this most of the ones that have been submitted by Shadow. Like the worm report, that one got rejected. The mutagen report for Praenaman, that got rejected. I tentatively kind of sort of said okay with the hypnosis thing, but only as in a Sisson needs some help, but not this. So it was like I'm not really agreeing with this, but Sisson could use some help right now. Like it's in a good spot per se, but it's also really easy to just stimmy them 100% because their window is stupidly fucking obvious, because you see a snap and you just shield or run, and there you go.
Right, yeah.
So
unless you're me or Steve, where you just never say die and stand in the room, as we talked
or
about.
that.
No, that actually, there's been a couple of times where like I've been, working on my system 1v1 route, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I have, all these like hypnosis suggestions that I want to throw in there, and then I don't even remember who it was I fought, but like I think maybe I got to like suggestion number like 4 out of 10, and then I was like already dead.
That might have been me.
Yeah, actually, I think it was you. I was like, man, I didn't even get halfway through my thing. Like, Anne just like completely fucked me. So.
Well, yeah, and Sisson, unfortunately, where it's at right now, when you're doing your hypnosis chain, unless you know you can tank the person, you have to move because you don't have the
Right.
affliction power to just stand there, and you don't have the tanking power because Sisson is a wet paper bag.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's been. I mean, most of it is just because I as a player am against power creep, and a lot of these have been power creep in the, like, again, worm, mutagen. Let me think. Was there one other omen, changing omen back to the way it was? Oh, new look at redemption. I didn't see that one. Let me think.
Oh, that was the one that had Aisling submit for me.
Okay, that's what you're talking about. That's why I didn't recognize it.
Yeah. So
Um,
so that I don't know if you've noticed as Revenant or if you have the willpower or endurance artifacts, but there was definitely some sort of change that went in after Mirrors came out with auras and blessings, just taking like a ridiculous amount of endurance and willpower.
I did bug it already that when I'm in Revenant, I saw that my mana was draining somewhere, but it wasn't showing up on my audit list when I had
Yeah.
manifestation up. So I was like, there's a drain going on, but it's not on my audit. What's going on? Please tell me. Thank you.
Man, I don't know if it's the way the sunlight's hitting your webcam or something side in, but it looks like you literally have the ghost of Ome behind you. Like,
No,
it's pretty.
that's literally. I'm going to be murdered shortly.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it looks like the dream plane is coming into reality. It's good stuff.
But yeah, no, it's the for me the class leads is, I think of a couple things. Is it power creep? Is this something that's, why is this needed? Have you properly explained to me why you feel this is needed? Is your reasoning sound? Are your solutions actually any good for what you think is the problem? And also time. Is this something that is really going to be worth the time spent to code? Because we already know there's going to be a limited amount of time given towards class leads for coding them in. So most of the quality of life stuff, I approved all those, like making. Oh,
What's up?
the stream just went
Speaking
away
of-
for a second.
Oh, strange.
The
Huh.
but like making bashing for Duriv better, sure. Like that should be like Duriv bashing. When I asked, everyone told me it's complete garbage. So definitely give it a boost.
It is hot garbage. It's probably the lowest DPS class out there.
Yeah, so give it a boost. The thing with refresh, as long as there's some kind of balance to it, like maybe some sort of minor drain or something to give a permanent +1/+1, sure, whatever. Even bashing for Corpus, if you want to do off of intelligence, since Terradrim can kind of do that, as long as you can balance out it only working for bashing and
Right.
not for PK, because faster EQ working for both Whispers and Frenzy in a PK setting could have something there. Horn, more stags, please. Yes. Oh God, there's not enough stags in the game. So the quality of life stuff I'll almost always approve. It's just, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these are just the reasoning doesn't really explain there being a problem other than I want to be more powerful,
Yep.
and that's not a good enough reason.
Yep. And I want to say about that, and this is the very old school part of me, and also the sometimes contrarian or thinking against like what most people think. I have never, and this is even going back into Empyrean when me and you used to play together, and you were a part of this too. I have never enjoyed the liaison or the class lead system. Never. I don't think it's a good idea to just let people be like, oh, let's politicize class changes. Because let's be real, that's what it is. Like, a lot of times these things get politicized. And because they're in the hands of players. And I have always thought that, like, whoever is in charge of combat should just, like, have like themselves and a few other people and be like on a test server testing these things out and verifying that they work how they work, and then making the decisions to make the changes themselves, and not just listen to people who are biased and have skin in the game on it. Like,
How'd that hide change go?
yeah, well, that's the worst example. But like, I'm just saying, like, how have all these changes gone to certain classes that are like super like unviable or just worse versions of other classes, like because of the changes, like for example, when I had to, I was going to mention this earlier when you all were talking about Sisson and stuff. Around when you made the character, I'm guessing I had to fight and duel Fezzix at North of Trees one time. As my character, I was playing Templar, and Benedicto was standing there to make sure nobody jumped in. I think Alali was there too, and I had to duel Fezzix because like we had some disagreement or whatever. And I fought him without leaving the room because that was the duel. It was you're standing at North of Trees, and so I'm at a disadvantage where I'm literally a worse version of his class in that situation. We're both trying to afflict each other to win with afflictions, and he just does it better because that's the way the changes have rolled over the years.
Until Sisson snaps, Sisson's affliction rate is absolutely hot garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I just recently fought Ceramus in the free for all, and I didn't go afts at all. I mean, I went pure limbs and rupture root, and I just just absolutely melted that kid in like under a minute.
Now,
I mean,
Fezzix is a hard example because the dude ran with like 10,000 health.
Right.
And it's Fezzix. I would say that with it's hard to say. I would say it's hard to say that his class is better than Templar when it's someone who's that good. It's kind of like saying that every Carnifex is better because Mule crushes everyone.
yeah, but it's like in this case, in this particular case, where I've never done the limbs thing with the maces, and I'm just running with what Sunder does. Obviously, he's got a lot more customization in his thing, but like if we're both attacking each other with afflictions, Sisson versus Templar, because of all the nerfs that Templar have received over the years, what hope does anyone have to like out afflict a Sisson? And
I
that's
kill Sisson
like,
as Revenant.
I mean, okay, I'm just saying, like, I just think that there's some classes in this game that have been way over nerfed compared to others, way over nerfed. Like, and then there's times where we nerf these things and we don't consider what it means for the like everything. Like for example, one of the class leads that happened in the last couple of years was monks, and their damage being reduced from their kata mastery, right? Well, what we should have done with that was just have it affect PvP. But we didn't. It affects PvE, and now they're like the worst bashing class in the game. One of them. They're just slow and really bad at bashing. But nobody's ever class leaded that because nobody cares. So I don't know.
I mean,
I
it's
just don't like the
definitely worth a
system.
class lead.
Yeah, like I think it would be fine if we increase the damage from the katas for PvE. Like there's no reason that with like more investment in bashing artifacts than like you can put 2,600 credits into a monk bashing and 2,100 credits into Templar, and I do 30% more damage as a Templar versus a monk. That's insane. Like that's literally like 15 minutes faster in an hour, like bashing session. Like it's crazy. I don't know, but I just I'll let you guys speak to these individual reports. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the way things get politicized often in the class lead reports.
I mean, I don't think that anybody. I mean, let me start again. I don't think anybody goes into a class lead with the intention of just trying to nerf a class into the ground just because they lost one sect fight to somebody. Like, me dying to Satan in the arena or in the sect arena because of Aeon doesn't mean that I'm gonna like submit like a knee jerk, Aeon nerf report. I think that ultimately the people that do submit these reports, they tend to have like a pretty good knowledge of combat, and people that don't have great knowledge of combat or how skills are supposed to be balanced, like those reports really get kind of trashed on pretty quickly, and like they don't really see the light of day. So, and I kind of had a love-hate relationship with the liaison system because I was the infernal liaison for a long time. And I mean, I enjoyed, talking on the liaison channel and dealing with all the other people that did submit those class lead reports, because all of us were fighters and we all like sort of knew what we were talking about. But I also didn't like the idea that class changes were gate kept behind one certain person. So I think that,
Mm-hmm.
opening up class leads to all these other different people was definitely a step in the right direction. But some of the things, like the resources that I did miss that we don't have now, is like a liaison arena where you can kind of it's like somewhere off plane. You have to like go in there. You can't be in combat. Can't have an aggro timer. And you go in there and you like mess around with other classes' skills and training rooms or whatever. And I think that was a great way for all of us who were liaisons to kind of you know take on this other class only in that area. It was kind of like the class pick mod for the arena, but in like a certain area that we could all kind of have free access to.
Yeah.
And I think that having that knowledge really helped a lot. So I mean, I would love to see something like that come back.
Right.
Even something sort of like using artifacts, like testing artifacts, like an artifact rack or something, which I want to say that we did have in the liaison arena, where you could like pull. It was like a rack that had like just every artifact you could think of, and you could pull it out of there, and like it would only be usable like in that specific arena. And as soon as you left, like it would like reset, and all the stats would go away.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. Like I wasn't in the liaison system, but I heard plenty about it to know that I wouldn't like it as a pure system because of the gatekeeping, and that in itself encouraged nepotism, because then
Oh
it was
yeah,
who do I like and who has bequeathed to me enough attention and or praise to have their report worthy of being submitted.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
so,
pretty much
but
that.
I also understand that when there's a ton of class leads being submitted by everybody, it can make it very difficult to wade through the mire of reports that are just coming from here, there, and everywhere that don't really show that they've been properly vetted by someone who either knows what they're doing or isn't just I can't beat people in this way, or I'm always getting beaten by this, therefore it's broken.
Yeah. It's
Um,
Right.
it's hard to
I
determine people's intent, basically.
Yeah, I would say if we could, of course, it would be a balance between the two. We would still have the open class leads for anyone to submit, but there would be a group of people picked specifically by K or T or both, who would then be able to give more in-depth commentary around some of these. So they'd be able to go to this, I'll just say like liaison people again, and be like, hey, so this report, what do you guys think of it? And have multiple people, and they'd be able to provide a bit more commentary because these are the people who do PK all the time. They may not agree all the time, but it would also give a chance to throw and be like, for example, again, going back to the high changes, it could have been, Kay could have had a chance to go to this group of, 10, 20 people, however many that they choose, and be like, hey, so I'm thinking of changing this. What do you think?
Right.
And privately could have gotten the, what are you even doing? That would have stopped the public backlash.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I don't think anybody asked for that height change. So I mean, or the celerity change for that matter.
right. So that's kind of one of those things where I think something in between could be the best, because then you could
Mm-hmm.
have the public giving their opinion and their thoughts while still having people who do PK a lot and want to contribute in that way of giving a more in-depth ideas towards PK and the changes and possibly things like that. I know I've heard that they're not really big on the idea of like what IKEA has, which is the Combat Council, but
Yeah.
I think that is an excellent idea if it can be managed correctly, because you do, to really balance things, you do need the feedback of the people who are actively engaged in combat regularly to especially address things that are outside the class lead report, or just don't have the time or the space to be reported. Because especially right now when we only get one report, so we all have to pick the most important thing that we think is right now. That's not only is meaningful to us, but also is likely to get approved. Because that's the other component of it when you only have one report is what can I submit that I think stands a chance of even getting approved. So
Right.
that's kind of one of the ideas behind it too. That's why I chose bone and gave some good ideas. The bone fetish, bone.
Milk,
I think
milk
personally,
bone. Eh.
what would go a long way is a little bit of transparency when it comes to the class leads as to like what all goes into it and what sort of testing goes in behind like when Kirok does it. My hot take here is that like I played with Kirok when he was still his moral character way back in the day. My hot take is that you have these people who have been up in the pools for so long that you kind of wonder like how much they're kind of like viewing combat through like a very narrow scope. Rather, like these are the people that don't go to 10v10 lessers and they don't see how much a kind of like a knockdown kind of drag like just brawl it can be. They do all their testing in like a little box, and I think that having like a select group of people that you would run like ideas by, who like who do go to lessers a lot, and they say, okay, this might be a problem. You go to you do group combat often. Tell me how you think about this. Rather than just coming up with like these changes or approving reports, and that we're all kind of left wondering, like scratching our heads, like why did you approve this? Because this drastically changes the way that group combat momentum flows. So.
Right. No, I will say when the first class lead round that I did, where we had I shouldn't say every, but almost every report that had a negative value upon it based on the approvals and censures, when all of those that had the negative value were basically automatically dismissed, I was really upset about that. Because I was like, just because people don't agree with the idea doesn't mean that it might not have at least worth reading and might have some merit.
Yeah.
Like that, when I heard that was going to be happening, like if it has a negative comment value that is just automatically being denied, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
That's the kind of stuff that I hate about the system. Like it's like you have some people that are just always going to disagree with you without even reading what you're saying, and then
I
that's
disagree with
just
that.
like you're going to have some. Ha ha! See what you did there. Got him.
Yep.
But yeah, that's just my point. Like you're just always going to have these people that are like, I don't like that guy. I'm going to disagree just because he made it, and then and that's enabled by having this be a system like that. So. And that's just why I don't care for it. But I still participate in it the last few times that I have. But
There just
I
needs
don't
to
know.
be a balance. It's just one extreme or the other doesn't work. There needs to be a balance in between. Having it a pure free for all democratic system doesn't work. Having it a super closed system with only select few even able to support and even able to submit leads doesn't work. There needs to be something in between.
Right. For sure.
Yep. Big agree.
So, and I will be, since I don't think commenting has closed, I will be commenting on the righteousness report here because I was starting to read it.
Oh.
So
let's pull that up in game here.
Oh, the one that I had Acelink submit for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to shit on it, you might as well shit on it in front of me.
Let's go.
Let's see. I report center
drama.
because I know it comes from Shrine and because he smells like feet.
Yep.
Wow.
And he spurns my love every time I try to RP with him.
Yep.
Smells like feet.
Jesus.
Wow.
How do you know that?
Let's not answer that question
let's
on the
strike
stream.
that from the record. Don't upload this, and especially don't turn it into any authorities because
Okay.
that's supposed to be my secret.
All right, 3 hours of our lives down the drain then
Okay.
over your secret.
Over those feet pics.
But
He
yeah.
was asleep. He didn't mind.
They were
Oh my.
they were originally intended for Eileen.
Did you did you raid his fridge for milk while you were there? Huh? Huh?
I didn't have to go to the fridge, lovely.
Oh my.
Yikes! This stream's getting
This is
saucy.
oh boy. Let me pull up the topic list here. All right. Did you want to talk about the righteousness thing, the redemption thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'll let you guys go at it. I pretty much agree with. Well, I will say before they talk about it, I agree with Steve. This doesn't affect me because I do have the 2 artifacts listed, so I haven't noticed as much. But like for people that don't, it is a huge deal, and it shouldn't be, especially when it wasn't even like put in a change log or anything as to being changed to what it is. So
Yeah, it was definitely changed sometime around here. It's like a stealth change. So I'm not sure what all happened with the code, but I submitted a bug that it needs to at least show up on audit, and we need to look at the willpower and endurance drain for that because I don't think anybody should. I mean, granted, like 500 credits is pretty small, small fish. When you get 20 free miles or platinum credits every day, just off doing milestones. But still, that's in order to make your class appear not as broken, you need to sink 500 credits into buying 2 artifacts, which I think is just absolutely just fucking ridiculous. So
Yeah, no. Required defenses should not be such a drain that you either have to buy artifacts or stop what you're doing to regain and or turn them off.
right,
If it was an optional defense, kind of like how I see, I'm trying to think of a couple. I can't think of any other time, but it was basically an optional defense that just made you, I wouldn't say beefier or did something really temporary or something like that that wasn't necessary for you to bash or PK, then I would be fine with a higher drain. Well, for example, Greenheart. Greenheart is massively powerful and has a massive drain in Wayfaring since it makes tree tattoo faster. You don't need it for bashing. You technically don't quote unquote need it for PK. It does really make a difference though. But it has a massive willpower drain because it's massively powerful. That makes sense.
right,
The auras are, I mean, one, they're necessary. If you're a Templar and you're not running or a Revenant and you're not running some sort of auras or phantasms, you're not playing your class right.
right.
And so them being absolutely necessary for the class to really do anything, the drain shouldn't be something that requires the artifacts. So
Well,
that's
I
my
mean, as far as I know, it's not the blessings that do it; it's the aura itself. The big buff that you're getting from that one, which it already has like a mana drain attached to it. Like I think the low end on some of those, the mana drain is like 50, and on the high end, I want to say it's either like 100 or 150.
yeah, Pestilence does 150, I think, and I know
Yeah.
Purity does 100.
So right, which isn't super. I don't know. I feel like that could definitely hurt you having that, like, if you're going up against, like, I don't know, say Praenamin, or like Luminari, you'd have to be an absolute fucking idiot to run like one of those auras that has like 150 mana drain on top of potentially like clotting and focusing and doing all these other things. Like you're just basically asking to get absolved or annihilated. So I think that while those drains are fine, and it's kind of a tactical decision to do that, that adding also like a really like punishing endurance and willpower drain to that is a little too like heavy handed of I don't know, it's a little too intense
yeah.
of a like a punishment for having that on there. So
Well, and also the fact that it's inconsistent. Like right now, I'm in Revenant, and I think I'm running Absorb because I was doing PK earlier, and it's
is that like
draining.
cleansing?
Yeah, and it's not well, at least I can't tell if it's really draining anything. Like I keep bouncing between max and like 5 less. So the fact that the drain is inconsistent is even bigger of a problem because there should be consistency, or at
Do
least
you
some mention.
do you also have the willpower and the endurance artifacts?
I have the willpower one, but not the endurance one.
Okay.
And my endurance is staying at 100%. So it might just be really a bug with Templar because I haven't seen. I can't speak to willpower because I have the willpower artifact from. I got that when I started running CO because. But yeah, the bottom line of it is I agree. I mean, I don't know if it's just a bug or if it's something that they just need to fix behind the scenes, but it definitely needs to be brought to attention. So I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah. Cleansing does make me lose 150 mana per tick.
Yep. So
Yeah, I'm running Absorb, which is cleansing, and it's not draining that much for me right now.
So it probably is a bug then. Yep. Well, I wonder if it is actually a bug, if they could give, Iceling their report back and let them submit a new one if they want to. I don't know. It's just me thinking out loud.
I don't know. I think that class leads have been open for 2 weeks?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if Aisling was going to submit one, that they would have already done it by now. So
yeah,
but
Yep.
just a small buff that I think would help any new players picking up the class, so that way they weren't completely discouraged about only being able to use this class for maybe an hour at a time.
Yep.
yeah, and it's not so powerful that it kind of balances itself out. Like Psiomancer does drain willpower like nobody's business, but it hits like a truck in bashing, and especially artifacted, it can just tear through everything with Spectre. So that makes sense. Like it's very powerful. So the willpower drain is comparable, but
Right.
Templar and Revenant are meant to be more like tanks. Like you're not
Yeah.
necessarily the fastest, but you're not going to die. Although their audits are hot garbage, which makes me sad.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
unless you're running the protection aura,
Yeah.
which I mean, I feel like that I can hit pretty close to, me as Templar running protection blessing, my Sisson audit with warding and tower shield comes pretty close to that. So it's just like I don't know, I'm about as tanky as a Templar in Sisson, but just with higher dodge. So I think that's pretty funny.
Archivist.
Yeah.
50% link. Haha, what's this? I'm getting hit by something.
Right.
So, I usually use protection as a blessing, and my cutting is 52 with that, 52%. Without it on, it's at 48, and then if I switch protection to an aura, it's 59%. Those are the differences for anyone curious.
I'm not running. I'm not running Congeal, which is your protection in any form, and I'm at 48, 41 for cutting blunt, and 47 magic with my field plate on.
Yep.
But I have a blessing, so.
Yep, it's that's more of a bashing conversation like we've had before, like we had last week, where it's like the class is supposed to be tanky because it wears field plate, but it doesn't really feel tanky in practice compared to, say, leather wearing Wayfarer that heals themselves for a quarter of their health every 4 seconds.
Yeah, the lack of a self heal
Right,
is really where Templar and Revenant suffer.
Well,
that's that to me.
we have a self heal, it just sucks. Like you
Yeah,
can use
that's
it.
what I
but
mean.
Have to heal off of redemption pretty much. But that means that basically in order to heal yourself with redemption, you have to have the enough killing power and enough crit to to crit these
Yeah.
mobs, to kill these mobs, and then basically you'll heal yourself as long as you're killing stuff.
Or you have to pull a blessing off yourself and make yourself less tanky to heal
Yes.
yourself.
Right.
Which,
Yeah, you can use absorb while off balance again. You can hit and then immediately use absorb, and that's like how I self heal myself as a Templar while bashing. But it sucks because it also slows you down tremendously. That's the big difference. It's like you use it and then I have to stop after I've killed everything and wait 3 seconds to put the blessing back up. Like
Right.
Whereas Wayfarer is literally like, oh, I get a free quarter of my health heal off balance every 4 seconds. Like, it's just the bar is so different for the two. It's just mind-boggling. It makes one feel tankier than the other while wearing the smallest amount of armor possible.
If anything, then it should be that you can do a absorb blessing off balance as well. Like you can absorb it to heal yourself, and then you can combo a hit with
Putting it back
using.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I think Mule told me that they thought that it worked that way already, and then I tested it and it doesn't. So I don't know, but yeah,
I think it used to, like a while ago. I have a vague recollection of it using to work like that
yeah,
years ago.
yeah. It's just what one of the ideas I was sitting here having. I was like, why don't we make field plate a little bit better so that in the sense that like, why don't we have a way to add non-cutting, non-blunt resistances to field plate? Like even a little tiny bit so that they feel tankier. Like maybe some kind of thing you can slot into a field plate and it lets you, like a rune, for example, or a gem you could put in and pick
Mhm.
one resistance. Kind of just like how I use my manipulation gauntlet, like for an extra 10% by using the limb.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the hardest part is that all the field plate wearers they have decent to good cutting blunt and magic, but the other resistances all suffer. Like if I
Yeah,
go somewhere that's just all cutting blunt and maybe some magic, I'm pretty okay. But if I want to go somewhere that does electric or fire or
yeah,
cold or psychic or something like that, I'm going to get rolled hard because there's just we don't even get weathering.
right.
Like
Like we used to. Like old knights used
Right.
to get
Yeah.
weathering, and now they don't.
or resistance.
Yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
again, Wayfarer also gets weathering and iron skin on top of wielding a shield, wearing leather armor, and curing themselves for a quarter of their health every 4
Hmm.
seconds. So
Yeah. No, Wayfarer is great for that. It's just yeah. No, I agree. It's why I rarely actually really bash in Revenant. I'm only in Revenant right now because I've been doing route testing. Um, but if I'm really in a mood to bash, I switch over to Archivist or Sciomancer or Wayfarer because I feel squishy in field plate.
Yeah, I
which
really wasn't a huge fan that when I came back that full plate was no longer a thing, and I'm not really sure the reasoning behind that.
yeah, I'd have to find it. That's a change they made in the last like 2 years that I remember them making. I think it was so that like I don't remember their reasoning, but I think it had something to do with the way the numbers lined up. They wanted them to all just like be more uniform. Like I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but there is an announcement about it, I think, somewhere.
I
Like
would
when they
think
made the
two
change.
things. Yeah, I would think two things. One, possibly the resistances, but also the other part of it, that full plate. If I remember correctly, it basically used to last forever. Once you got high enough to wear full plate, you
Right. But the general idea of having full plate, like I'm okay if full plate like decays, but like the
right.
point was is that you put in some. I think even the commodities cost a lot more. I think it was like I want to say 50
Oh yeah,
steel. I think to make full plate.
at
So it's like
least.
you're sinking in this big cost to make this good armor. Uh, I would even be willing to eat that high cost of steel to make full plate, even if it decayed, because I think it would go a long way to making Templar and Revenant a lot tankier. Well, and Carnifex and Warden too.
I found the announce post if you want to read it in game. I have it on stream here, but I don't know if you're watching the stream. It's 3059 is the announce post. And it's yeah, at the top he kind of explains it. Because it was a change to all armor, not just like full plate, field plate. Kind of read that and
Let's see. And when was that made? A little over a year. About a
February
year
of
and a half.
20.
About
Yeah.
a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I would be curious to revisit that now that it's been a year and a half and we have all these new bashing areas and new skill sets and stuff like that.
But he gives examples at the bottom too of like what the old numbers look like and how they're weird versus the new, like how the new numbers are like 10%, 20%, 30%, and so on, as opposed to like 10%, 13, 16 and a half, that sort of thing.
I guess I don't know. Even taking like the mechanical thing out of that, I really like the sense of like the RP that the having like wearing a full plate added. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
Sarai has always been like a knight class, and now in order to get back to that kind of big knight and like armor type thing, I have to go forge a helm and pauldrons and stuff like that afford no value,
Yeah.
no like armor value, but I have to like go customize all these things that up until recently the design queue was just taking just ridiculously long to get stuff through, and I'm not super great at writing designs. I have to be like in a very particular mood for me to want to do crafting. So I mean, having to forge, 2 or 3 new just cosmetic items, and then come up with designs and then push them through the queue is just not enjoyable to me.
Right. Yeah, there's some downsides to it. I get where he's trying to go, but it does, like, full plate was just one of those things that was iconic about all the games. Like, all the games had it,
Right.
and then you just kind of yank it away, and it's like it's a bit of a feel bad, you know. It's like the end of an
Yeah.
era, basically. It's like it was like the last thing we had from the old Knights,
Yeah.
and then it just gets yoinked away. But yeah, so do we want to move on to the next topic? Also, would you guys like to take a break at all? Maybe go bio or something? Just asking, since we've went longer now than we ever have. I'm just trying to interject that in there.
What? How long have we gone?
3 hours and 3 hours so far.
Wow. I mean, we can always save some of this stuff for next week. I feel like 3 hours is a long time.
Yeah. If you guys want to be done, that's fine. We can run the giveaway for the 2 people that entered it, and then be done.
All right. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So that way we can save some of the stuff for next week.
Okay. I don't know if there's anybody else that would potentially want to enter the giveaway, but I don't think anybody else has joined the chat since I typed it in there. So we'll go ahead and I'll hit close on it, and we'll see what happens. Let me find the button. There we go.
Oh, hey, I see your name.
Uh-oh. You won, Steve. You won the giveaway.
Oh, nice. What did I win?
50 credits.
Oh, sweet.
You knew that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know we were giving away credits this week. I'll maybe I'll do something for next week and actually contribute to this.
Oh, I need to figure out how to remember how to transfer them to you. Oh yeah, transfer. Duh.
Transfer 50 credits to
Yeah.
Srain for $1 million.
There you go. We did it. All right. So
Wow.
yeah, we said we had 8 topics. We got through 6, but I think that's a good litmus for how long it takes us to get through these topics, comparing to 4 last time. So
I feel like a couple tangents. 6 is good.
It'll be good to save one of these topics for next week too, if we do manage to have a Layla on. Because,
I didn't even think about that. That would be good.
Yeah, because they are Carnifex, and you wanted to talk about Templar versus Carnifex, so
no, I wanted to talk about how much the Carnifex fucking suck.
Yep, how they're all orcs and
and how basically and how they're only just loud, bipolar psychos.
Oh.
Well, the Templar are just goody two-shoe Boy Scouts all looking for their merit badges. They make sure they're home by 10 p.m. They walk Grammy across the road.
I don't know about that. I hear their second in command is, wears all black and has nipple rings.
Oh yeah. He's a little
He also,
quiet. He's edgy. He's a loner.
Yep.
but thankfully for him, the Milky Moon rises.
Oh my.
The Milky Moon rises.
Well, I guess we're
Those
getting out of here with
thick-ass
that note.
Milky boys.
On that note, everyone, don't forget to
Yeah.
don't get
They
give
give
out.
alcohol to children.
Who did that? I don't even know who
That
did
was
that.
me, dude.
Oh my god, what are you doing?
That was Strahan.
Yeah.
I gave alcohol to kids.
What is wrong with you?
What was wrong with me, man?
They were a war hero.
Oh my goodness.
Jared Groenbeerman,
Oh my
That
gosh.
long, I loved it so much.
dude.
All
It
right.
was fantastic.
All right, you mad lads. I'm gonna hit the stop streaming button here in a second. We're gonna get out of here and go make dinner and kill each other and eagerly await the end of the auction later tonight. The first part of the auction.
All right.
All right. We'll be back next week. Thanks to everybody who joined us. Everybody who's watching this after the fact on VOD, making it all the way through. We appreciate it, and we'll try to see what next week brings us. Should be fun. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.